Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
All right. Coming to you live from Reno, Nevada, not Las Vegas. This is The Rational Man. Rollo Tomassi's The Rational Man from a secret bunker in the Nevada desert where the bodies are buried. You guys ready for your mandatory vasectomy? That's where we're going, right? That's what's going to happen. You could just castrate yourself right now. How about that? It's going around Facebook right now, so why not? Right? Here we go. Hey. Hello. 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 Gotta get everything set up. Yes. I am actually working on a new dog cam, by the way. I got the post for it right here. Sooner or later, I'll have Ned in here with me. I need a producer, so perhaps Ned will be the best choice for that. How are you guys doing? No Rule Zero yesterday. We took the day off, actually. It's kind of interesting. People, I know that's going to be the first question. Everybody says, well, why did you guys do Rule Zero yesterday? Well, everybody had something going all at the same time, which was kind of strange to me. Rich had, I think he was doing something with his daughter. I don't know what Ryan was doing, but he was unavailable. John was just coming off of a vacation, I think, and probably, I think, 2 weeks of his last class is masculine empowerment network thing. And then Troy, I think, was traveling. So I'm like, I'm recording with my band right now. If you've been following me on Instagram, you probably have seen the posts on there. So, I just said, hey, let's just take a day out. Let's take, a week off. We'll come back and hit it hard again. Don't worry about it. Got a lot of things coming up, with Rule Zero. We are in the planning stages right now of a very, I don't say exclusive event. I mean, a very nice, well put together event, and it's not going to be, as far as I know, it's going to be something that's a little bit more. We're gonna limit. We will end up limiting attendance to like a certain amount, kind of like what we did before. We're looking at having another Rule Zero live. I don't know where just yet. Possibly Las Vegas, possibly even in Lake Tahoe. We'll see. That's a location that has been discussed. People keep asking, why haven't you guys done it yet? Well, the problem is Canada is still locked down. And Japan is, although I don't think they're locked down, I think that it's still very difficult for John to get in. I'm the only guy, by the way, of the 5 guys on Rule Zero, the main panel anyways. I'm the only guy that lives in the United States, including Carl. Carl lives in Europe somewhere, I think, too, from Black Label Logic. So it's been very difficult to make those plans. Now, Vegas is coming back. I know Donovan Sharp has his thing that's coming up as well. But we will probably end up doing something in the fall. We're still waiting to see what the travel bans and the travel restrictions are going to be for all these countries. Troy's in the UK. I'm in the United States where we would have it. I'd probably end up doing a lot of the planning, I think. And, everybody else, John's in Japan and Ryan and Rich are in Canada. So we kind of have to play it by ear right now, but let's just say it's in the larval stage right now. We'll see how things go. That said, another announcement really quickly. I will be in Miami the week of the 11th, June 11th through the 18th. And I will be participating, although I'm not on stage or anything like that, but I will be participating in George Gammon's entrepreneur conference that he is having at the Hilton in Miami in the Brickell district. Brickell, I hope I'm saying that right. Brickell district. And that will be June 11th through the 13th. And then I'm sticking around for just for the shenanigans that we'll probably end up doing on Fresh and Fit after that. So I will be there in June. I know they made that announcement. So I don't know that I made an official announcement of that just yet, but I will be in Miami that week. I'm planning to. I've already got plans with Sterling Cooper. I already have plans with another notable. I don't know if he wants me to tell you if he's going or not just yet. Although I shouldn't say that. He does. He it won't make any difference. John from Modern Life Dating will be in Miami as well. He's doing a hot dude army thing out there as well at the same time. So we managed to sort of coordinate that. So you get me, you get what 2/5 of Rural Zero in Miami during that week. So I will be there. We probably will all be on Fresh and Fit at some point, and watch the chaos ensue. So there is your announcement for the upcoming events in June anyways. I'm really looking forward to meeting George Gammon and going to that because it's kind of like out of my wheelhouse. And I know that a lot of guys in his following follow me as well. So thank you for that. I know Ty Lopez also follows me too. Thanks, Ty. I actually followed. I didn't, it's funny somebody told me that Ty Lopez was following me and I was like, really? And so I went and I looked at all my socials and I'm like, oh damn. So I followed him back and everything. I don't know if he's going to be there, but Ty's following me too. So welcome to the cult. So, anyways, that's, those are the announcements for today. And let's see, book 5, which is the book on game, is coming along swimmingly right now because it's very easy to do. The outline's already done. I've actually, dug into the first like 3 or 4 chapters. So, that should be coming very soon. I'm maybe even towards the fall. If I can put my nose to the grindstone, then you will have another book, hopefully before the end of the year. It'd be nice if I could get it that way. Just depends on what my work schedule is looking like. I'll try to see what else is going on. I think that's it. So let's get into today's topic. The first thing I wanted to do was play this video for you. And you might be wondering why the hell I am covering mandatory vasectomies. I've covered this. I've covered vasectomies before, way back in the foggy days of when Pat Campbell was a part of this show, and Pat and I talked about vasectomies. I wrote an essay. I think it was back in 2019. And it was called Selective Breeding, I think is what it was. Was it Selective Breeding? I can't remember which one it was. But I covered, it was Unconscious Contempt. That's what and I put both of those, by the way, in the description, so you can check those links out. I always put descriptions to my the essays, the pertinent essays, the relevant essays that I've written in the past. Those you can find in more detail than I can go into right now. You'll find those in the descriptions. Sam Bott, I see you. Thanks for being the mod today. So that said, I'm gonna show a video today, and I'm gonna explain to you why this is a thing. And Sam just sent me texted me a mandatory vasectomies thing, and a parenting license. I might even throw that on too. Sam, thanks for that one. This one I think is a little bit better though, but let's start with this one here. And before I do this, I have to preface a few things as I often do. So as some of you know, I have a background in marketing. I have a background in brand identity, brand development. Let's just say I have worked in advertising for a very long time. I've been a brand manager. I've worked in brand identity, and I got my start primarily in gaming. And by gaming, I mean not like console games. I mean like in casinos. And I was the art director for several big name casinos that I'm not going to mention by name because I don't want you guys going crazy on me. But let's just say, for sake of argument, between here and Vegas, and here is of course Reno, Nevada, and in casino advertising and casino marketing, and especially in advertising. You have to remember, I started in working in signage, and then of course, and signage, I did everything. I wore a lot of hats. So one of the reasons I have such a large, a very variety of skill sets when it comes to this kind of stuff is because I was a one-man show. I still am a one-man show today, but back then I was literally a one-man show. If I didn't know how to do it, I had to figure it out. And I was from the school of design at that time that was much more, let's say, industrial, I think is probably the better term. I always wanted to do something, I wanted to win design awards. I have a couple of Addies to my name, if you know what an Addie is. And that was nice when I was working and I was doing agency work, and it was easy to do that. But like, there's very little subtlety allowed in casino marketing. Everything has to be in your face all the time. It has to be the most extreme of the extreme. So if you've ever walked onto a casino floor and you've looked around and it's like sensory overload when you do that. And I have a track with me here. I have a point to all this. You step onto the casino floor and it's Wheel of Fortune, right? Or it's this, crazy, mishmash of lights and sounds and lasers and videos. And as soon as they can figure out holography, they'll do holographs. You name it. I can remember when the first plasma screens hit casinos, and it was so distracting, but people were just glued to these things, and you could do so much more with it. And now I have worked for companies that are, a company that is one of the largest producers of slot machines, video poker machines, that kind of stuff. So I worked in gaming on that side. I also worked on the opposite side. I've worked on both sides when it comes to gambling and gaming. But there's no room for subtlety. Everything has to be red, and specifically red. Like, it has to be like Pantone 85 or 87. I forget which one it is, but especially if you're marketing to an Asian clientele, it has to be that particular tone of red. Red, gold, in your face, loud music, loud noises, clanking coins, although there's no change on casino floors anymore. But it has to be on fire with tits, and it has to be red. And if you can put flaming red tits, that's probably the best thing to do when you are trying to compete with all of this stuff that is going on for attention on the casino floor. Now, why am I telling you this? Because that's what social media is today. There is no room for subtlety. There is no room for design. There's no room for nuance. There's no room for, it has to be flaming red tits. That's what social media is today. It is a casino floor, and it is sensory overload when you go on. And if you try anything artistic, and if you try anything that is in any way, let's just say, you don't want to use metaphor. You don't want to use allegory especially on social media, but certainly not online. And the reason for that is because everyone tends to be more extreme today. Everything tends to be more binary. Everything is, if it's not on, it's off. And today I'm going to get into mandatory vasectomies, right? Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, not sorry, but that's what you have to compete with. That's what you have to compete. When I did Ariana Grande, and I did just a quick hit video. If you haven't seen that, you owe it to yourself to go and check that video out. I don't think I did more than 30 minutes on that, and it's already up to 45,000 views because it's Ariana Grande. God is a woman, right? So there's no room for subtlety. There's no room for nuance. There's no room for like, oh well, what is he trying to say with this? Poetry, forget it. Throw it out the window. It has to be blatant in your face, and it has to be as extreme and as binary as possible. And the problem with that is that we have at least, I'm going to argue 3 generations, but certainly 2 generations of human beings, of people, certainly in Western societies, that's their default. If it's not on, it's off. If it's not black, it's white. If it's not for real, then it's fake. If it's not truth, then it's lies, right? There's no, and we have such a literalist bent right now that there's no longer any room for like reading things into things. There's no, what was he saying with this? There's no Jack Kerouac anymore. What was he really saying? And like trying to analyze this, that's gone out the window right now. So with that in mind, I want you to watch this video here, because this is where we're at. I've made the case, by the way, that a lot of this, and I obviously am a luminary, right, in the red pill or the manosphere, right, the godfather of the manosphere, right. And I've seen a lot of stuff come and go. So when I say, the red pill is really kind of leaning into like sort of brand of me niche marketing, that's one thing. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is how endemic this binary kind of extreme reaction to things are. And one thing that I always get is when I'm reading a critique of a 1 minute video, not even that, like a 54-minute or 54-second video, that's a clip. And it's amazing to me to see how far people will take it to to the extremes that people will go to make their point. Rarely do they even watch a 54, 55 second video. They just see the title, they see a few comments, and they leave a drive-by comment. And it's usually based on the most binary, most extreme, opinion that they could possibly have. So what you're saying is, it's that Jordan Peterson thing, right? And so I wanted to point this out because today this is going to feature into today's sort of conversation a little bit more here, is that this extreme example, this over the top binary extremes reaction is the default now. So if you're not on team woman, you're a hater. You're on team misogynist, right? If you're not on that team, you have to be on the opposite team. There's no room. There's no wiggle room. There's no conversation. There's no, like I said, there's no nuance. It's flaming red tits in the conversation. That's what it is. It's casino marketing. And whoever has the loudest voice, whoever offers the reddest of the red meat, that's going to be the guy who gets the most attention. The same thing applies, by the way, not just to the manosphere, but to social media in general. When it comes to Instagram, when it comes to certainly Twitch, right? I mean, of course, one of the things that inspired part of today's topic was the fact that Twitch is now, what is it? The girls who are like showing off they're backing up this far so they can show you their junk, show you the product, that's what it is. But you say it's the product, and then they lose their minds because they go off and you have a binary extreme reaction. So when I am presenting something in as praxeological a sense as possible, as rational, as reasonable, as statistical as I possibly can, and that's what I'm going to do today, is present some statistics and present some of this to you guys today so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So when women say, "Oh, well, we want mandatory mandatory vasectomies for men, and we want a license to breed," right? We want a license to be a parent. We want guys to, guess what? And I'm going to show you some of these here. And this isn't a new thing. It's just coming back into vogue right now, and I'll tell you why it's coming back into vogue right now. But remember this, whenever I'm making those points, whenever I'm rationally presenting things, and half the time, you can certainly build a brand off of that. You can, especially today, when you hold women accountable, or you hold even guys, when you hold men accountable as well, and you show them in no uncertain terms that these are the stats and this is what's going on right now and this is what's been going on, and they don't have a counter argument to it. The next thing is, who hurt you? Or the next thing is, well, what about men? What about? And I'm constantly getting that. It's the mark of a bad debater, first of all, because it's whataboutism. Go look that up. It's actually a word. Whataboutism. All one word. Go ahead and have a look at that at some point. Google that. Do the work. Do the homework. But what happens is there is this presumption that if you are presenting unflattering statistics or unflattering information about one sex, then you are required by law, required by the conversation, required by them, required by, appropriate good, company, whatever, etiquette, I guess, to present the opposite side. And the answer to that I have to that is no, I don't. We're talking about women right now. When I talk about men, we'll talk about men. And I'll tell you what's funny is whenever you present unflattering truths about women, the first thing that you will get out of a feminized mindset, or certainly women who are invested in gynocentrism, is, well, yeah, but what about men? Men do this too. What about? That's called whataboutism. And and it's amazing to me that it's even guys who are allies, right? With a feminine, you can call them manginas, simps, whatever you want to call them. Okay, whatever. That faction right there, they default to that too. And they default to the same binary extremes. There's this idea that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And while that works in physics, that doesn't work with men and women. That doesn't work with human beings, right? Sometimes things are very one-sided. Sometimes you lose. Yes, sometimes it's a zero-sum game. Men and women are different. We have different mating strategies, and we have different imperatives when it comes to, solving our reproductive problems. So sometimes the conversation doesn't include men. And sometimes it doesn't include women. If I came down on men, and I, God knows I have in the past, and men will give me, oh, you're shaming men, you're shaming this. No, I'm not. I'm actually just presenting the facts and giving you the tools and showing you the research and the stats and the data and everything else that goes along with that, so that you can you can act accordingly, right? So you can make better informed choices. That's really what it comes down to. I'm not trying to, people think that I try to insult you or try to beat you down with this. No, not at all. But during that conversation, no one says, well, what about women? Nobody says that when I'm talking about men. They only have that, oh, well, you need to talk about men if you're going to talk about women. No, I don't. That's exactly the reason why we have these binary extremes. No, I don't. This is what we're going to talk about. And if you want to, and you want to say, well, I'm going to go create a video, or I'm going to go write an essay, or I'm going to do this or whatever, and say, well, we're going to talk about this side of things. Okay, fine. Go ahead and do that. But in this conversation, I don't have to consider the opposite side, especially not when it comes to gender differences, because often enough, they conflict with one another. It's there. That is your caveat for today. What did you say? Women want to give the control of birth back to men. What a wasteful sexual revolution. They still want to be 3 or 4. Yep. Exactly. All right. So with that in mind, I want you guys to watch this lovely lady. Very short video. I picked this up off of Twitter. And here you go. And yeah, Sam, I saw that video, but it's a little too long for what I need to do for my purposes today. So I want to throw this in here. And I do need to do one thing real quick, because I know I need to put echo cancellation back on. Give me 1 second, because you will get echo if I don't do this. There we go.
Conversation is up in America about women's right to abortion, and it's not only in America, it's in Norway as well. And it's a conversation that infuriates me, because I think we shouldn't ever be having that conversation, because the real problem when it comes to unwanted pregnancies are men, because every unwanted pregnancy is caused by a male orgasm. I mean, a woman can have 500 million orgasms and it can never lead to pregnancy, and she can never have an orgasm and still get pregnant. God knows that. But every time.
All right, so I mean, we're already starting out with shaming tactics here. We know that. Okay, let's move on. We can get past this part right here. However, I think it's interesting that she now this is the mindset here, okay? And again, track with me here. Well, she's an idiot, right? Well, yeah, but listen to what the narrative is saying here, because this is part of a narrative.
Time a man has an orgasm, he could potentially get someone pregnant. So, a way to eliminate abortions altogether is mandatory vasectomies. They're reversible, and I think that until a man wants to have a baby, he can go in front of a panel where he has to prove that he is emotionally, intellectually, financially mature enough to take care of a baby for the rest of his life.
Imagine me saying, honey, well, you can go and freeze your eggs, and darling, you can also go to a sperm bank and inseminate yourself, artificial insemination. You don't have to find Mr. Right. But the thing is you're going to have to do first, darling, is you're going to have to go before this panel to prove that you are responsible, that you will be a good mother, that you would not raise a criminal or a drug addict or what would happen if the kid has, is autistic? What would happen if the kid has Down syndrome? What would you do? Like go before that panel? And I would presume that if we were going to have these birthing panels, right? Remember that we're gonna you need a license to be a parent. One would presume it would apply equally, right? Right? What about women? What about guys? You want to have that conversation? No, you don't. Because the presumption is that women will do it right.
Because what's not reversible? Forcing a woman to go through with an unwanted pregnancy.
Okay. Now I stopped it here for a reason. The reason why she gets the eyes kind of gloss over, and you can see the whites of her eyes in this, right? The reason for that, and I have to explain this to you right now before we move on, because that is the existential fear of women. The existential fear of women is that they will be forced into having a child that they did not choose to have. And that has been an evolutionary like I said, existential fear. It's part of women's evolutionary firmware to be afraid of being forced into having a child with a man that they don't want. You want to know why rape is such a hot button issue for women? That's because it is the ultimate expression of taking that choice away from women. That's really what it boils down to. Now, yeah, is it violation? Sure. Is it violent? Yeah, it can be. Whatever the going definition of it is right now. However, the root fear, the root reason why it causes this right here is because it's the existential fear. It's removing reproductive choice from women. It's removing the ability for women to say, I choose that guy and I don't choose that guy. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Again, I'm holding up the mirror here. Okay, I just work here. I'm just telling you why this is so compelling, and it's to the point of obsession for women right now, that they have to make it in terms of comparison. And I'm going to talk to you guys here in a second. That's why I started bringing up. That's why I prefaced this with the idea of binary extremes. And if you say one thing about one guy, then you have to say about women, then you have to say something about men, right? Okay, or vice versa. We don't have that conversation when it comes to men. And I'll tell you why, because women lock men out of that conversation. If you don't have a uterus, you don't get to say anything. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then why do I have to consider something about men when I present some statistics that are unflattering to women? You don't have a say. And that's what really pisses women off, right? Now, again, let's rewind the tape here. We go back to hypergamy. We go back to our evolutionary firmware. We go back to our ancestral past. When a woman is breeding with a man or is reproducing with a man, let's just say. Remember, that's the breeding. Having sex with a guy is the proximate cause. The ultimate cause is, of course, the ultimate purpose, I guess, is to reproduce. Right? So when you remove by inch or by mile control over that process, over women's control over hypergamy, that's when they start to lose their minds. So when we start having this conversation, and we're going to, and this is why I did today's topic, we're going to have this conversation very soon in the Supreme Court of the United States for sure. And you're going to see this amplify. The reason why you have these, you will see she's doing this right now. There's Sam Bada's. Sam, I'm going to give me the link to that. Put that link in the chat to that YouTube video if anybody wants to watch that later, and then I'll put it in the description later on. There's another video that's very similar to this, but this is the narrative. As I said before, this is the narrative. You have to follow the narrative, but the reason, the latent purpose of that narrative is the existential fear, losing 100% unilateral control over the reproductive process, and that's pretty much what we've given women since about 1965. I mean, technically, you could make a case maybe even a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later. But the fact remains that once we invented hormonal birth control, we sort of incrementally ceded power, or acceded, I guess would be the word, right? There's your vocabulary word today. We've given over the reproductive process, at least in Western cultures and Westernizing cultures right now, over to women. That's why she's losing her mind. I think she's in Norway. Is that what she was saying? But that's why they're losing their minds right now. And it's not because, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, the first thing out of women's mouth was, oh my God, they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. That was the first thing. It's not like, oh, she's gone. Oh, she did a lot of good things. Oh, she did this or she did that. No, the first concern was we're going to lose the right to have, on-demand abortions. And that's the conversation that we're going to have. I believe it's the Supreme Court, probably in fall, is going to take up a case in Mississippi about late-term abortions. Now, personally, if you're going to ask me, I don't think anything's going to come of this. We've seen this happen over and over and over again, but it's going to be a very nice distraction from other things for a while. But the reason why it's such a big deal, and the reason why you're seeing videos like this pop up right now in May, is because probably around October, we're going to have this is like what's called tilling the fields, right? You've got to have so they can be harvested later on in October, probably, because I think they're going to consider the Mississippi case in October. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't think that they have a date for it just yet, but they have already decided that they're going to hear it. So with that said, we have to see what's going on. Why is this such a big deal? Why is it that women celebrate when abortion becomes legal in Argentina or Ireland, for example, like especially, previously or formerly Catholic countries, or maybe presently Catholic countries, when women get the right to choose, right? Or women get the right to free, safe, abortion, it's time for celebration. Why is that? Why do women fight tooth and nail to maintain the right to end a pregnancy? Why is that so bloody important? And the reason for that is those eyes right there. That's the reason. It's the existential fear. No woman should have to be forced to have a child that she doesn't want to have with some guy that she doesn't want to have it with. I'm not saying I'm not saying I disagree. You shouldn't. But that's where the root of this comes from. That's where this, if you want to call it madness, right? This obsession comes from. It's a fear that it's easily it's a commodity, right? It's easily commercialized. And so therefore you get she felt so impassioned about this that she had to go and create this video that's, I don't want to say it's viral. Maybe it's viral now, but it's going, or this is being passed around Twitter right now. So I wanted to set that out there, because the existential fear of women is to lose hypergamous control, to lose sexual selection, to lose unilateral power over who gets born and who doesn't get born, even if that means ending that guy's genetic legacy in utero. So it's not just selecting the guy. It's not just who she's spreading her legs for, right? It's not just the guy who can't keep it in his pants. It's even after the fact. And once that's happened, then yes, it is a woman's choice to end the pregnancy or not. It's not the man's choice. It's the woman's choice.
The emotional and physical trauma she's going to carry with her for the rest of her life. And that baby is also for the rest of their lives. So if you're watching this and you think that a mandatory vasectomy is way too invasive, you can't do that to all men, it's actually less invasive than an abortion. The recovery is quicker. It's about the same cost. And if you think that that's invasive, you can't tell a woman to go through with an unwanted pregnancy.
All right. First off, no one is telling a woman she can't go through. She has to go through with it. Okay. No one is telling her. Ultimately, once the sperm leaves your body, you are effectively powerless. Gentlemen, that's why I keep saying, that's why what is it? Is it 4 or 5? Iron rule of Tomassi. I believe it's 5. I can't remember my own rules. Always control the birth. Always wrap the rascal. And that's really, if essentially that's your only means of birth control these days. Now, people will throw this at me and say, well, Rollo, don't you know that they're already working on like something that's reversible? Don't you know that they're okay? They've been saying that for a very long time. I remember when Vagisil or Vasegil or whatever, Vasegil, I think, Vasegil, I think is what it was called. Was a big deal. Oh, there were clinical trials in India. The problem is that it like the male pill like completely reduces your libido because it like drops your testosterone even lower than it would probably have been for you to even try that in the first place. So condoms really are your only effective means of birth control, much less, STDs and all that other good stuff. Yeah, Vasegil. Sorry, it's not Vagisil. Vagisil is a feminine wash. Vasegil or whatever it is actually a trial. I don't know if it's, I haven't seen much of that in the news, but it brings up an interesting question that I have addressed on occasion. I certainly did back in 2015 when I was writing preventive medicine. What would happen if men had, if we could do this? Like whenever I see these things, whenever women say, well, we need to just, and I'm going to show you another example of this here in just a second. We need to have men have mandatory vasectomies that are reversible. Well, first of all, they're not reversible for the most part, or that's very difficult to have them reversed. And again, you want to talk about invasive process as well. To have one is one thing, to have it reversed is another thing. So you're already looking at twice the invasiveness. So let's just call a spade here. But I don't think that really makes much difference, because really what is being suggested here is that there ought to be some new technology that will in some way ensure that men can turn it off and then turn it back on again, right? Your ability to, and it should be mandatory. Like once you hit puberty, you get your mandatory, essentially what it is your own sterilization. And I think this is kind of a dangerous thought, and I'll tell you why later, but the narrative here is that vasectomy equals abortion. if it weren't for you guys, if you could just keep it in your pants, then we wouldn't have all these abortions. Bullshit. Okay. Women decide who to abort and what child to abort and what child not to abort. That's the simplest answer that I have. Well, men are responsible for. I hear this, and by the way, I hear this from both sides. So it's not just tradcons. Like tradcons will say the same thing, right? They'll be like, well, if men were just, if men were just men, then women would behave too, right? Just keep it in your pants, man, and wait till you're married. First of all, that's probably not going to happen in an age where marriage is the single worst decision a man can make for himself right now. I wish it were different. I wish you could all I wish happiness and long life on all of you guys. I wish you could have a great marriage. I really wish that was possible. However, the way we do it right now, it is an unconscionable contract. So when you say, oh, well, you're going to have to wait until married. Really? I think in the latent purpose of that is fantastic. It's a great idea, but I also think that it is untenable in the new order. It's untenable in 2021 and has been for quite some time. Really has been untenable since the advent of hormonal birth control, but that's neither here nor there. But so you'll get that from the tradcon side, and then now we hear it from sort of the liberal leftists, like this girl right here, I would presume. In fact, if you saw let's see, where did I put it? It's not the banners. It's this. If you saw today's thumbnail, against abortion, have a vasectomy, or better yet, castrate yourself. Okay. Look at facebook.com/liberal and proud of it. Okay. So this is the messaging. This is what we get today. So it's not so much about like, well, if you're against a woman's right to choose, then you should just cut your dick off. That's basically the message. Geld yourself. And that has been something that I think this has been pervasive for a very long time. And I'll explain to you why I think that is as well. I want to show you another thing. Now, before you guys say, well, she's just a whack job. How can you put her up there? Well, let's go and have a look at Pamela Keith Esquire, who was, I think she still is, a congresswoman in Florida as well. And I don't know what district she's in, but this was back in May 15th. Oh, well, gosh, 2 years ago, 2019. 81% of U.S. boys are circumcised at birth. Why not do a reversible vasectomy at the same time? Now we're going to have the conversation about circumcision, and at the same time, we're going to snip them. You're making a lot of friends here, Pam. Then men have the procedure reversed when they prove they want a child and can pay for it. But we don't have any. Okay, well, here's your chance, ladies. If guys are going to be expected of this, well, what are we going to expect from women? To be, let's see, have a child, that they want a child and that they can pay for it and that they're ready for it and they're mature enough for it and they're not going to be a burden on the state because they are just now deciding that they want to have kids. Should we have that as well? If that's the criteria for birthing children or for even, reproducing, and that's what this is reproductive control, right? No more unwanted pregnancies, no more abortions, no more freedom, but why be picky, right? Now, when I've thrown this up there or when I've talked about this, there we go. It was a joke. It was a joke. Can't you tell it's a joke? Oh, is it? How about this one? Is this a joke? You know what? Vasectomies are reversible. Why not just make all men get them? And then if they're truly ready to be a father, they can undo them. What's that? You have problems with this? Yes, you're right. It's wrong to regulate men's bodies like that. It's a joke. It's a joke. Oh, can't you take a joke? Oh, no, it's not a joke. Stop abortion at the source. Vasectomies are reversible. They are? Really? Are they? Because as far as I know, it's pretty difficult to do it. Now, I don't have a vasectomy. I know a few people who have had them before. I even know one individual who's tried to have his reversed. Make every young man have one. When he's deemed financially and emotionally fit to be a father, it will be reversed. Well, should we not then hold women accountable for that as well? When women are deemed financially and emotionally fit to be a mother, it will be reversed. Wow, let's have mandatory sterilization of women. And we'll just say, hey, you don't have to worry about it. As soon as you can prove that as soon as we've got your 401k, as soon as we've got your W-2s here, we can find out what you're paying in taxes. Then we'll decide whether or not you're a high enough earner to be a breeder. What's that? Did the idea of regulating a man's body make you uncomfortable? Then mind your fucking business. Oh, sounds like it kind of goes along with this little chestnut here. Where do we go? Oh, this one. Reasons why women have abortions. Nobody's business. Nobody's business. Nobody's business. Nobody's business. Ha ha ha. Guess what you're going to see coming up, but throughout this summer. You're going to see that. That's going to be in your feed. Coming up in your Instagram, your Facebook, even your church ladies, by the way. It's not just going to be your leftist liberal friends. It's also going to be your tradcon friends as well. Keep it in your pants. What if God? Well, we don't want to take away unilateral power over the reproductive process of women. We got to let the little ladies decide, because clearly we got to put men before a panel to see if they're financially and emotionally stable and everything else stable before they can reproduce. But women are by default naturally going to be okay with that. They're really good at that, right? I got a really good one here. Hang on one second. Red Pill Mike, thank you for that $100. And if I can put you on, I will. Oh, there it is. I'd be willing to bet that this woman truly has no dog in the fight whatsoever, but she has to have an opinion on something just to plant her face on social media. Yeah, but, and I agree, Red Pill, I agree, Mike, but what is she choosing? There's other ways. She could just show her tits, right? That would put her on the map. In fact, I'm surprised she didn't, and also mouth off about this as well. And that's what you're going to see this, you're going to see the rhetoric intensify, I think, as we get on towards whenever the Supreme Court decides to hear this case. So there is that. But I think you're right. I mean, is it an attention thing? Yes. Is women's only real agency their sexuality? Yes. Is it the only thing that they could have as agency? No, but that's the first default, right? That's you take your clothes off and gallivant around the protest, buck naked, and to make your point. That's the first default. Pay attention to me. Here's my boobs. That's what I mean by women's first best agency is their sexuality. Sorry, not sorry. Just had to throw that one in there really quick. Oh, but let's see. Well, we're getting back to our things here. So, let me throw this back up here, because I was going to make a point. Oh, it's nobody's business, nobody's business, nobody's business. Okay. The reasons why women have abortions. Okay. Well, let's see what happens when, actually, I've done my homework here. Let's look at some of the reasons. This is the state of Florida, the records from 2015, records for a reason for every abortion that occurs within its borders each year. Florida is one of the few states, by the way, in the United States here that actually keeps these records. I think that if obviously Florida is, you can have an abortion all over the country, right? It's your civil right, I guess, ladies. But very few states are allowed to track the reasons for why women are getting these abortions. Florida happens to be one of those. It is very difficult to find these stats. So that's why I had to dig these up from Florida, because Florida is one of the few states that actually allows this. Okay. This table lists each reason and the percentage of abortions that occurred because of it. The pregnancy resulted from an incestuous relationship, 0.001%. The woman's life was endangered by the pregnancy, 0.065%. The woman was raped, 0.085%. The woman's physical health was threatened by the pregnancy, 2.88%. The woman's psychological health was threatened by the pregnancy, and we're only still looking at under 1%, 0.294%. There was a serious fetal abnormality, 0.666%. The woman aborted for social or economic reasons. Well, that's only accounts for 6.268%. And then again, no reason or elective counts for 92.330%. So I think it's safe to say, at least in the state of Florida, and if this is any indication for the rest of the country, but most abortions are performed electively. Even when we were looking now, granted, this is from 2015. Maybe things have changed in 6 years. I don't know, or 5 years. I don't know. Again, it's Florida. People want to say, "Well, look at this. Look at the It's the state. They can't even count the votes right. Whatever. Okay. Go find your own stats. I've done my homework here. If you want to dispute this, you can go and find your own stats for yourself as well. But I think what's funny is that if you look at this, 6.268%, the woman aborted for social or economic reasons. Now, how does that conflict with when he's deemed financially and emotionally fit to be a father? It will be reversed. How does that track? How does that jive with that, buddy? I don't even know this guy's name. What's his name? Witty idiot. How does that jive with that, witty idiot? Most abortions are elective, period. End of story. So when women say, well, what about rape? What about this? What about that? What about? Okay. I'm not going to say that that's not anxiety inducing. I'm sure it is, but statistically, realistically, abortions, it's not your business. Well, it's damn well my business when, oh gosh, you can't even see. I'm sorry. You can't read this very well. I'll blow this up. Hang on. I was expecting that to look a whole lot different. Hold on one second. There we go. I hate these long lists, but I have to, I got to be thorough, because if I'm not thorough, then people will throw rocks at me. Where is it? Share screen. There we go. Can you guys see this better? I'm going to blow this up so I can go down point by point here. This won't take long. Just a second. There we go. All right. So these are the stats. Okay. According to Single Parents Success Foundation, a national nonprofit that encourages educational opportunities for single parents, 63% of suicides nationwide are individuals from single parent families. Now you'll notice that they always say single parent. They don't say single mother, because by and large, because custody of children is awarded to mothers. Like, what is it? 86, 87% will, I mean, that's as a result of divorce. I'm not talking about like born out of wedlock. Right now, 42% of children born in the United States are born out of wedlock. At least that was my last statistic that I used for book 4. 75% of children in chemical dependency hospitals are from single parent families. More than half of all youths incarcerated in the U.S. lived in one-parent families as a child. Now, again, they don't want to say single mother, but this is single mothers, because by and large, people will say, well, men are just leaving. Men need to man up and they need to be fathers. Well, then we need to also talk about not removing fathers from that equation. Okay, remember, men aren't allowed to reproduce in the utopian society if we don't if they're not financially responsible, right? 37% of families led by single mothers nationwide live in poverty. Comparatively, so don't we think we should at least sterilize women? Because here we have it, right? I mean, if we're going to have that panel for men, then we should also have that panel for women, right? Comparatively, only 6.8% of families with married parents live in poverty, according to the data from 2009. That's the Heritage Foundation. I have the data. The data set for this is all the way at the bottom here. If you really want to see it, I'll give it to you as well. Consider these dire statistics from single mother households. They always say, or they'll. I love how it's like neuro-linguistic programming, right? It's never single mother households. It's always single parent, or it's fatherless households. It's never they never want to point it at single mothers. They never use that terminology, and there's a reason for that. 63% of youth suicides. These are the statistics from single parent households. 90% of all homeless and runaway children, single parent, single mother. 85% of all children that exhibit behavioral disorders. 80% of rapists motivated with displaced anger. 71%, I'll let you guys process that all you want. 71% of all high school dropouts. 75% of all adolescent patients in chemical abuse centers, 70% of juveniles in state-operated institutions, 85% of youths sitting in prison. Okay, and now some of these are kind of older statistics. I got one this is from 1978. This one's from 1988. This is from 1992. Okay, however, go do your own homework, find out for yourself. Okay. And I would also suggest this for further reading. If you want to know what the dire statistics are now as far as 2018, great book. It's called The Boy Crisis. It is by Dr. Warren Farrell. Now, while I don't agree with everything that Warren Farrell broadcasts out there, I do definitely respect him for being a consummate statistician. So if you want to have a broader education, and why wouldn't you, of course, right? So we can see right now that single mothers raise a generation of children that would have been better served to have been in dual families, right? But we want to make it, I mean, again, I understand that this is just a joke, right? This is just a meme. This is like, well, it's meant to be what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Well, does that make you feel uncomfortable when you think about having the snip and it's out of your control? Well, yeah, of course it does. And I'm sure it feels pretty bad for women as well when they're having that unilateral control over the birthing process removed from them, especially considering that they have an existential evolved, fear of getting with the wrong guy. And we've ensured abortion as a fail-safe for women since the mid 70s, right? 1974 was Roe v. Wade. I think I hope I got my dates right there. And we're going to be talking about that very soon. But we want to talk about, we don't want to talk about the fact that if we're going to be this tit for tat, right? If we're going to be, quid pro quo, if you're going to go binary extremes, then that's meant to be a binary extreme, by the way. That's why I started off with the casino analogy when I first started the show. It's because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to go, oh, I don't want to have that. That's what they're expecting. That's the joke. That's the hit. That's the punch in the dick. That's what that is. And I want to throw a few other things out here as well, because I think we need to if we're going to have this conversation, if we're going to talk about, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Now, I know that that's not going to happen. I know there's not going to be forced sterilizations or anything. Maybe in China there are, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. But what's happening right now is you're going to see this ramp up, I think, before we get to this before we get to the Supreme Court justice hearing the Mississippi case. You're going to see more of this rhetoric, more of, well, you guess you just get a mandatory vaccination, a mandatory, it should be a vaccine, right? Mandatory, vasectomy. And then that would take away your reproductive choice. That's really what it comes down to is, well, you shouldn't be allowed to reproduce. And that has been a fantasy of a gynocentric social order for a very long time. I would even say prior to the sexual revolution, but certainly since the sexual revolution. And we're already seeing that. We've been seeing that in our legislation. We've been seeing that in abortion law. I mean, that's really why we have no fault divorce. That's why we have those are fail safes for bad reproductive decisions, for bad life decisions, because women's reproductive decisions end up becoming their life decisions. Men, yes, too. But women will say, oh, men can just walk away anytime they want. No, they can't. No, they can't. Seriously. I don't know. Well, maybe in different countries for sure, but certainly not in westernized countries. It's like, no, they can't. They're on the hook. Socially, there's social stigmas for that. There are certainly financial liabilities for that. Hell, I mean, you can't even, like for guys can't even get a DNA test without jumping through a lot of hoops. I'm not saying it's impossible, but a doctor finds out that the child isn't his and a woman has technically committed birth fraud. That doctor is not allowed by law to tell the father, because they don't want that father to fly off the handle and find out that the kid's really not his, especially even if he's already emotionally, financially, and life-wise invested in that child. So there you have that. Let me go back up here. I got a few others here. What you got? Tournament. Alpha males versus pair bonding. Socialists all must have prize. Every man must have a woman. Pair bonding created weak men and the decline of the greatness of Western civilization. Did it though? We can talk about socially enforced monogamy if you would like, and I don't mean like, oh, we're gonna that. You want to know why women lost their minds when Jordan Peterson talked about socially enforced monogamy? Exactly why that girl is talking about right there. I don't want to be forced to go with a guy that I don't want to be with. I don't want I don't want to have a prearranged marriage. It's really what the fear is. I don't want to have men control my reproductive process. That's what the conversation is about. Who gets to decide who gets born and who doesn't? Who gets to decide that? Right now, it's unilaterally women. It has been. You could make an argument that it has always been that way, but by inch or by mile, that the process was a lot more balanced under patriarchy. It was a lot more balanced back prior to the sexual revolution, certainly before the advent of hormonal birth control. That control that was at least collaborative. Maybe it benefited men more than women, maybe vice versa, just kind of depends. Really, that's why you get socially enforced monogamy. And it's not that society is going to enforce that you're monogamous or you're going to get binary extremes right there, man. It's like the reason why the fem-stream media and a gynocentric social order just lost, they were apoplectic. I mean, just, I can't believe Jordan Peterson would suggest that society would make us get with guys that we don't want to be with. That's not what he said. But it's, again, there's no room for nuance. This is social media is a casino. Flaming red tits. That's what it has to be for it. And that's exactly where they took that. Socially enforced monogamy is not about enforcing it. It is actually, monogamy is the standard, and society, or certainly, if you want, whatever, a monogamous, a patrilinear, let's just say, patrilocal society is going to say, well, it's better. It serves the reproductive process. It serves men better that it's one man, one woman. We'll even make mythology about it. We'll romanticize one man, one woman. They were destined star-crossed lovers, right? It's all the way back to Shakespeare and Ovid. I mean, you can go, you want the romantic ideal. That's it. What I find interesting right now is the romantic ideal that I discuss in book 4 is being like on the fly. It's being, I don't say distorted, but it's being sort of modified right now for a polyamorous, I guess, an upcoming polyamorous social order. Oh, well, it's all about love, and love is the highest thing to think about. And it's not about marriage. It's not about, soulmates anymore. It's just like, well, we gotta, it has to be romantic love. And if it's not really romantic love, then what really is it? Is it, And so when you have, you want to know again, why women are so against prearranged marriages, or they're so against their family. And in this case, it happens to be the man, to the father anyways, to be meddling in her affairs. Like, she should get to be the one that decides who she wants to marry and who she doesn't. Well, it's today's society. You guys don't have any choice. So that's kind of a moot point. But in the past, why was that a thing? Well, you want to say, well, men would just use them as, they barter their daughters as cattle. They were just owned. Yeah, but I will guarantee you that even the guys who are the most cynical, the most, self-centered guys who would do something like that. I mean, the society was different, of course, but it's not that he doesn't care for his daughter, right? I care for my daughter enough to want her to get with a guy who I think is going to be a good match, not just for her, but for our family and everything. Like, you're blending two different families together when you do that. So there is that consideration. It's not just rich, evil, patriarchal men living as, the tribal chieftains who are, selling off their daughters for, 4 goats, right? It was across societal strata for a long time. And it's not because guys were like, oh, well, we're just going to be, I'm just fiendishly going to control. No, there were alliances. Marriages were about alliances. Marriages were about blending families. Marriages were about a lot of other things. We tend to only look at marriage, like historically, from like aristocracy or noble families. We tend to only look at it like powerful men being able to sort of use their daughters as like bartering chips, or something like capital, right? But you have to remember that it's not just them. It was all across all stratas. So, and how did they, and why was that a thing? Why did that seem like practical at that time? Why was today still there's prearranged marriages? Why is that a thing? Well, women lose their minds because they want to be the one who gets to control who it is they fall in love with and they have sex with, and they marry, hopefully ultimately marry, and then they breed with. Okay? So I would argue this is that when it comes to socially enforced monogamy, it's not about actually enforcing it. It's that the normalcy of monogamy is enforced by society. We see that today. If you cheat on your wife, you're going against socially enforced monogamy. That's why we hold men to a different standard when they cheat on, like a politician is caught banging hookers in a Motel 6. We hold that guy to a different standard than we do Kamala Harris. than we do to Katie Hill, right? Although she's out, I guess. But we hold them to a different standard because we expect sexual control out of men. We expect that to be like, you're supposed to play by the rules, and these are the rules. What are the rules? Socially enforced monogamy. When you apply that, or you even mention those rules about women, again, tit for tat, right? We mention those about women, then it's, oh my God, no woman should ever have to have a baby she doesn't want to have, marry a guy she doesn't want to marry, be involved in a relationship that she doesn't want to be involved in. And again, comes back to unilateral control of the reproductive process. These are the stats. This is the reality. Stuart Lewis, just for fun, instead of saying women, replace it with your mother. Your mother wanted the best man to father you. Don't men also want the best man to be their father? Yeah, sure. Why not? Don't we all want the best of the best? Yeah, we do. Now, here's the thing, Stuart, I'll tell you this, is because people throw this at me all the time. They go, well, aren't men hypergamous too? No. Only women are hypergamous because that is what defines their mating strategy. Men don't have an attraction floor. Women do. And the reason for that is because exactly what our little blonde, Chippy here is talking about right now. I don't want to, because again, having a child in our ancestral past anyways, even if you pick the right guy, even if the woman says, okay, well, I trust this guy and I love him, blah, 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 it could still be a death sentence. Because before modern medicine, it was a crapshoot sometimes, man. I mean, women could die in pregnancy even with the best of guys. So that's why there's that reservation. That's why we want to call feminine intuition, but it's really the hypergamous filter. It's filtering out the best guy, the highest quality guy. Now she has to do that filtration based on two criteria: alpha seed and beta need. Sexy sons. Is he going to be the guy that's going to impregnate me, and I'm going to want to have babies that are really that are better than I deserve? Because that's really what hypergamy never seeks its own level. It always seeks something that's above it. And why wouldn't it, right? It's the best of the best, even if you don't merit the best. That's hard for women to hear. I know. Like, even if that's really what you want to know why, like Fresh and Fit and the rest of these guys are like, why they have such successful podcasts is because women believe they deserve better than their own rank, than their own, whatever they see themselves as. They've done that several times, man. Like, what do you see yourselves as? Rate yourselves, ladies. Oh, I'm an 8. I'm a 7. I'm an 8, right? None of them want to go like over the top. I mean, or maybe the ones that are like really kind of full of themselves. It's like, I'm a 9.5. I'm a 10. And then everybody in the chat's going, you're average at best. You're a 5. You're 5.5. You're 6, maybe. But every single one of them across demographics, across age, across generations, all believe they deserve better than what their own, if you were going to rank them, what their own status was. So hypergamy never seeks its own level. And even if it's at its own level, it's always trying to find the better deal. And why wouldn't it? I mean, that's logistics. That's pragmatism. That's the pragmatism of nature, pragmatism of hypergamy. Why wouldn't you? So that's the settling that balance between alpha C, the best breeding options, and the best provisioning, protection, and parental investment options. And rarely do those two things coincide in the same guy. It used to be a much easier choice because women depended on men for provisioning, protection, and parental investment as part of the deal. Okay, I give you sexual access. You give me the 3 Ps on the beta buck side of hypergamy. Yeah, you're kind of cute and I can live with you. So here we go. Let's have a life together. And maybe something works. Maybe we develop something out of this. I'm not saying all women. See, that's the thing is women believe that they are entitled to the best of the best right now. And the reason for that is because in the last, I was going to say the last 60 years, but certainly the last 20 years, women's entitlement and hubris has gone through the roof because women are hypergamous. Men are not hypergamous. No one's ugly after 2 a.m. That's what I mean. Okay. So have you ever gone slump busting? Have you ever gone whale hunting? Then you understand what I'm saying. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is go to Pornhub and look at the stats. Don't go to you don't have to actually go to Pornhub, but you can go to the blog, Pornhub's blog, and see the stats for that. See what men are into, see what women are into, right? For men, it's very huge amount of variety. Fat girls, skinny girls, old girls, young girls, blondes, brunettes, redheads, midgets, whatever, right? And So when you look at the variety, it's not so much variety as it, like, I hate it when guys say, well, and I've heard David Buss say this too, and other prominent Evo Psych guys, well, men tend to seek more variety when it comes to their sexual appetites. Well, yeah, is it variety or is it sexual opportunity? Because what happens for most guys when they say, I have a preference for X, it's usually that preference that they've been the most sexually successful with in their past. And so therefore they're kind of like fixate on that because it's the, quickest point between, point A and point B. Oh, well, I like older girls. Okay, well, then suddenly you have a preference because they've been the ones that have been all about you. Oh, I like fat chicks. Well, yeah, because fat chicks try harder, and then you have a much more easier time gaming a girl who is, nobody else wants. And you're like, okay, fine, nobody's ugly after 2 a.m. Again, that's the difference. Men do not have an attraction floor. Women have an attraction floor. Now, men might have an attraction floor at a point, but men are more R-selected, whereas women are more K-selected. And I don't think enough people are actually pointing that out, because I think we want to say that, well, a species, male and female of that species, is either R-selected, they're rabbits, right? They breed like rabbits. They're R-selected, or they're K-selected, meaning that we focus on one offspring and we put all of our evolutionary, eggs in one basket, literally so sometimes. And so we concentrate on quality, raising a quality offspring instead of like, okay, here's 1 billion kids and put them out there, and most of them are going to be eaten, but who cares? That's our selection. So that's like from an interspecies kind of thing. Now, what I would argue is that men's innate mating strategy is R-selected and women's is K-selected, meaning that they're looking for the best of the best. I don't see why that's so controversial to even talk about, but apparently it is. So let's see what else I got. Honcho, I like that name. Religious marriage ended tribalism and bound one woman to one man. I will argue exactly the opposite and gave most men access to reproduction. It didn't end tribalism. I'll half agree with that. Okay. Those rules are dead. Does tribalism come back? Yeah. And probably even more so. Human beings, and here's another ugly fact, and you can take this one to the bank, is human beings are innately tribal. Sorry, not sorry, but that's how it works. And this is where I will probably rub against the grain when it comes to guys who certainly Jordan Peterson, but because a lot of people want to say tribalism is a bad thing, and it can be, especially when it comes to identity politics and it comes to ego investments in belief sets that define an ideology. As ideological tyranny, whatever you want to call it. Well, all of that is a result of innate human tribalism. So, like I said, you guys know I play in a band. I consider that my band, the 5 people that I play, 4 people, I'm one of 5. I consider them a tribe, right? And other bands I've been in, I consider the same thing. They're my brothers, right? They're people that I would in some cases have actually had gotten to fist fights, because I was defending them, right? Back in the day when I was 20. But it's like, human beings will innately try to default to a family dynamic of some sorts, whether they're related to that person or not. It's like that common interest kind of thing. So, if you have a best friend that you maybe he's your lifting partner or something at the gym, and you develop you have a common interest, right? And then you become sort of friends, and then you become really tight with that guy, right? Is that tribalism, or is that just friendship, right? Your first tribe is your family. That's what comes to kin. It's described. This is completely off topic, but it's kin altruism. It's like who would you rather die for? Your wife and your kids, or your niece and your nephew, or your brother, or your second cousin, or your mother-in-law, right? I mean, you go on down the line versus like how much genetic, commonality do you share with that person generally tends to be like how much you would sacrifice for that particular family. Now, in big families and everything else, there's that family dynamic. That family dynamic is and that's the microcosm, right? So it's one man, one woman. You want to know why the red pill is such an important topic? Here it is. One man, one woman get together, they breed, they have a kid, they form a family. Maybe they have 2, maybe they have 3, and suddenly they become a tribe of their own because it's shared genetics. So tribalism is a feature, not a bug. It's just how we manifest it. It's just how we work with it. Okay. So tribalism is not a bad idea. And religion and marriage certainly didn't end tribalism. If anything, it emphasized it, or it consolidated it. That's the word I'm looking for. Consolidated tribalism. If you like the Raiders, if you like 49ers, if you like whatever, I don't know, whatever your soccer, what is it? Arsenal. If you like any, whatever your soccer team is, whatever, you're part of, you feel a sense of tribalism with that. We feel a sense of tribalism with our religious affiliations. Tribalism crosses over into obviously political ideology. Identity politics is a direct result of tribalism. You're not going to pull, you can take the human out of the tribe, but you can't take the tribe out of the human. Not going to happen. Embrace it. Go with it. Make it a positive thing. We've done it for a long time. We just have forgotten how to make it a positive thing now. And you'll see, I think in the like people say, well, enjoy the decline. Once we have the decline, once we get to a point where we're at complete ruin, you'll see the same tribalism because that's the machine. That's what we are. We're violent fucks. we're tribalistic. We want to foster our own self-interest nine times out. You want to know why socialism and egalitarianism is a pipe dream? That's not the machine. That's not what we are. And you'll always be fighting against that. I say freaking embrace it and use it as a positive. It's not a feature, not a bug. But the second party, and this is actually a pretty good question here. Those rules are dead, but are they dead? Because a lot of people would like to bring them back. A lot of people would like to say, well, we need a time machine and go back in time. And Dr. Phil, I do a good Dr. Phil. I can't believe this. One woman, one man, and gave most men access to it. Yes, from a patriarchal perspective, patriarchy, monogamy, socially enforced monogamy is a net benefit for beta males. And how can I prove that to you? Well, I can prove it to you with a general survey study that shows that kids between the ages of men between the ages of 18, 24, 29 are having less sex, are having 10 times less sex than the prior generation. The 10-year study, was it 2008 to 2018, I want to say is what it was. It might have been later than that now. But there was a big deal. MGTOWs and black pills made a huge deal out of this. Oh man, it's working. MGTOW's working. Guys aren't having sex. All right. that was like a victory. I was like, that's not a victory, man. Because the women, the female women in that same demographic cohort are still having maybe a little bit less, but certainly a whole lot more than the men in 18 to 29, 18 to 20. I'm just going to go with 29 are having. So who are the women having all this sex with? Probably alpha guys. And as a result of exactly what we're getting into in the narrative that we're following right here. Because when you give women unlimited, unfettered, unilateral, you unfetter hypergamy and you give them unilateral reproductive control, and they say, okay, ladies, it's on you. You guys police yourselves. It used to be that the church and society and social orders could be the sort of the stigma, the buffer against the worst aspects or the worst outcomes of women's sexual strategy. Now, men have this. You want me to go on and talk about men? Here you go. Yeah, men have to be sexually controlled because our sexuality is always on. We have to hit it and quit it, ejaculate and evacuate. That has been our biological imperative for a long time. Unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, 4K online streaming porn all the time, blah, blah, blah. For women, but let's just say for unfettered sexuality, there are always consequences for that. And this isn't a religious thing. I mean this in terms of personal, political, social. If you want to say religious too, fine. But there's a lot of consequences that come from an unbuffered and unrestrained. I'm not saying it's oppressed or repressed. I'm not saying that. I'm unrestrained, like a buffer between the worst aspects of your sexual expression versus the healthy parts of it. You want to, if I have to get married, I want to have the best sex I can possibly have with the one girl that I'm allowed to bang for the rest of my life. It better be freaking Jenna Jameson every freaking night. Most guys have that same mentality. Even the guys who are the religious guys who say, well, I believe in abstinence. I'm no sex before marriage. Okay, well, you better if that's the case, gentlemen. If you're of that mindset and you say, well, I don't believe in premarital sex. Great. Okay. I can even understand why that's a thing. First of all, you're probably not going to find a woman who isn't who like any woman that you want to get with who hasn't already banged another dude. Okay. That's number one. So you kind of have to lower your expectations a little bit right there. But let's just say, for sake of argument, you found your perfect angelic unicorn virgin bride, right? And you got with her. And according to your belief set and conviction and everything else, she is the only person till death do you part, forsaking all others, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, blah, blah, blah. All those vows. What's the trade? And then, of course, it's all a downside for you because you're taking on the responsibilities and the liabilities of an unconscionable contract in modern marriage today. So there's a lot of downsides. Don't expect any woman, virgin or not, to ever appreciate or understand the all downside sacrifices that you as a man have to make to hold up that end of the bargain in a marriage. So that's simply never going to happen. And I don't care how great you're married. Even my own, I couldn't even begin to expect my own wife to understand the dangerous position that I put myself in by being married to her for almost 25 years now. Soon to be July will be 25 years. And so that's the first thing out of anybody, any doomer, any black pill, MGTOW, whatever they're calling themselves these days. Don't you know you could get raked over the coals? Where's your prenup? No, I know exactly what I'm getting into. And I better be on my game, and I have to perform. You're goddamn right, I have to perform. Right? Just like you have to perform, just like anybody else has to perform. Men become, women just are. And when you take on that responsibility, when you take on that all downside risk in marriage, don't expect, you can't expect just common women. You certainly can't expect your friends. You can't even expect your wife to understand the most precarious position that you are in. So get that through your head. Now, so you say, okay, well, no sex before marriage, but now I've got this girl. That sex had better be freaking magical. It better be like it better be like taking ayahuasca. It better be like something that like I've got an out of body experience with her. That's what it has to be like. And most guys are disappointed. They're like, oh, she won't. And a lot of these guys, you want to know why 68% of like Christian men are addicted to porn is because they don't get that. It's not happening for them. It's not happening in their marriages. Or marriages that end up, by and large, sexless. So, yeah, so they lose their shit. But that's something that you have to. If that's the case, gentlemen, if you say, okay, Rollo, I like that. I addressed this in book 4, but I like this red pill stuff, and I think you're right, and I think it's true. But I'm a Muslim. I'm a Christian. I'm a guy who believes in no sex before marriage. No premarital sex. Okay, it is more incumbent upon you to learn game. It is more incumbent upon you to be red pill aware, because if those are the parameters, those are the rules that you're going to live your life by, you better damn well be very well educated. You better damn well be able to vet. You better damn well be able to know what you're getting into. Most guys who opt for that they're completely clueless. Tribalism never dies. It's part of like I said, it's a feature. It's not a bug. Okay. What else do I have here? Did I catch you? I didn't. Got Stuart. I got that religious this. Is your 4th book going to challenge my religious beliefs? And that was from PLN. Yeah. And if you're an atheist, it's going to challenge your atheist beliefs too. Probably. I don't challenge. If you read the very first introduction, gosh, I should just sit here and read the introduction because I don't have an audible version of it just yet. But in the introduction, that's the first thing I describe. I said, by the way, and where did I put that? God damn it. Hang on one second. There it is. It's the first link or second link in the description below. If you want to, please do. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, as well as print. And I think the print is gorgeous because I did the layout. Anyways, is it going to challenge your religious beliefs? Yes and no. Is it going to challenge your atheist beliefs? Yes and no. I mentioned this in the introduction of the book where I say, if you pick up this book, if you pick up that book and you're thinking, all right, Rollo's going to crush religion. He's going to bash them. No, you're going to be very disappointed. And if you are a religious guy and you're going to go, oh, right, finally, Rollo's seeing the light. He's going to go, he's turned it into Rouge. he's going to finally reinforce and back up all my religious beliefs because my religion, this religion, that religion, whatever my pet religion is the real red pill. You're going to be very disappointed as well. It's not about that. Not about that at all. It's about the nuts and the bolts. It's about, as you might guess, it's connecting dots. It's praxeological. So yeah, are there going to be parts of it that are going to challenge your religious beliefs? Sure. Are there going to be parts that reinforce your religious beliefs? Yes, absolutely. Especially by the end of it. I know that. So pick it up, man. Tell me what you think about it. Have been getting, it's not so much like it has a lot of reviews right now on Amazon, but I don't really hold the reviews on Amazon in as high as esteem as like say Goodreads or something that has a commentary that is, you can tell when people are spamming you or they're giving you review bombs. And I get review bombs all the freaking time. Amazon, I have to be very careful when I look at things like in terms of reviews, if like it's a product or if it's a book or whatever, even when I'm shopping now, because I know how the review process works and it's all just upvote. There's no downvote. There's no response. Because essentially it's a forum, like was it a BBS forum? I think is what it's called. That you can only upvote. That's the only thing you can do. And so it's like, well, this was the most helpful. Oh, great. I'm going to give him this shitty review and get my spur army to go and, and upvote this shitty review. It's not downvotes. It's upvotes. And that's all it ends up being. And Amazon sucks. Amazon sucks when it comes to their reviews. Hey, Amazon provides me with a good product. I've never had any complaints about it, but I do think that they could do better with the review process. And I don't see how they do that without turning it into sort of this back and forth commentary. And then it becomes a forum. Let's see. I got this one right here. Here we go. Hypergamy, to be precise, instead of hypergamy for women. No, hypergamy is only for women. When I say hypergamy, I'm referring to women. I'm not referring to men. And that's another thing. Well, what about hypergamy? What about hypogamy? No, hypogamy is bullshit. Hypogamy is just this made up bullshit word so that people can say, well, men are dating down while women are dating up. Because no, women's hypergamy is an evolved mental firmware. Hypogamy is something that if it is even a thing, is a response. It's an adaptation. It's an adaptation to the fact, well, my wife she's got her doctorate. She's a surgeon. She makes, 10 times more money than I do. I'm a trash collector and I can't possibly find a woman, women who are trash collector. I can't find a trash collecting woman anyways, but I'm going to look for women who are higher than me and women have to, date down, or I have to date myself down. Right. If I want to, I can't get with a surgeon, so therefore I got to get with a woman who is a sandwich artist. It's nonsense. If anything, it's an adaptation, but I think a lot of people want to throw that out there to say, well, that's the male equivalent of hypergamy. No, two differing things. Men and women are different. Our mating strategies are different. Hypergamy is part of, because hypogamy presumes that, and by that I mean men have to date down, right, or whatever it is. Or women date up, men date down. If that were the case, then you wouldn't see guys getting addicted to porn. You wouldn't see guys only wanting sexual variety or being mating. Their sexual strategy wouldn't be mating per opportunity. That's what it comes down to. So if that was the case, then it's like, yeah, you can make a case that if you want, it just depends on, it's the semantics at this point. Like, how do you want to define that? So if you want to say, oh, well, men will hit anything. Is that hypogamy? Well, you're just making up the name to go along with what's already there, which is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, promiscuity, right? Most men, were they able to get if the hypergamous filter were no difficulty for men, that's what they would do. They would live like Dan Bilzerian, right? And I know he's not a good example. Okay, he buys his girls, okay, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like that men would be promiscuous. So you know why? Why is it that gay men have sex like crazy? Why is it that? Why are gay bathhouses a thing? Because you remove that filter, remove those restrictions and those restraints and those buffers that women have there, and you're trying to get with another guy. Yeah, it's game on, and that's what it looks like. If men, heterosexual men, could have their dream come true, it will be a new woman every night, because that's what they want. And I'm not saying forever, but certainly for if they could have that, that's what defines powerful men: resources, territory, and access to many women. That's since time of hell, every damn primate does that, not just human beings. So when it comes to hypergamy, I am using a broader definition for that. It's something that I have tried to, I won't say redefine, but I've certainly tried to broaden the definition for, because too many people think that hypergamy should only be the dictionary definition of what it is, which is, women have a tendency to date up socioeconomically in Indian caste systems in 1955. That's where the word came from. Is that okay? Or are we just going to stick with that? Because if that's the case and you don't want to call it hypergamy, then we got to find another term. The same thing, call it, by any other term, it's the same shit. It's women's mating strategy. So we call it hypergamy. Great. You want to call it umfufu? Well, then I guess that's the new term of choice. I don't know. But that's what I'm going with, because it's women's innate need for alpha fucks, beta bucks, right? Bigger, better deal. Looking for, is he the best I can do? I don't think that is any shocking revelation for anybody. Let's see what else is in here. Good mother, the good mother. When are the men going to stop fighting over the manifestations that are a result of feminism and work together to stop the chaos breeding division? Never. Because men are innately competitive. We live in competition hierarchies. It hasn't gotten bad. I shouldn't say that. It hasn't gotten bad enough. Does that make sense? It hasn't gotten bad enough. And conditions haven't gotten so distressed that men will cooperate with each other. And why would they? Most of them are in isolation. We want to just joke about mandatory, essentially what this is mandatory sterilization for certain guys. And I'm going to tell you why that is here in just a second. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to move over to that right now. Let me see. Well, let's go look at this. Here's the first, today's reading, on today's homework, gentlemen. Let's look at this. This is actually a really good one. And I even have hold on a second. There we go. How about that? Is that it? There we go. Awesome. All right. So I won't read this whole thing because I don't want to completely bore you to death, but let me go here, because this is where I got it from. And by the way, if you're not following Steve Stewart Williams, you need to be, because he throws out stuff like this all the time. Again, not because he is red pill, not because he's in the manosphere. This is just what he studies. Okay. So this is the article that I have here in the background is what he was quoting. Okay. Studies of online dating find most men find most women at least somewhat attractive. Does that sound like hypogamy to you? No, it's not. Does that sound like hypergamy to you? No, it's not. Okay. Women view 80% of men as below average in attractiveness. That is definitely hypergamy. Men liked more than 60% of female profiles, while women liked only 4.5% of male profiles. So where's this from? I'm glad you asked. I will show you. This is where it's from. Right here. Women are less like, if you want this, I'll put it in the description so you can see what we're talking about here. Again, I don't want to, channel my inner Tim Pool here, but there's a lot of stuff in here. These are really good. Let's see. I'll just leave this out for you. I'll put the link up. I don't want to dig too far into it, but that was one of them. Oh, see, I'm sorry. I picked this is the wrong one. My bad. No, that was actually, I wonder, why am I looking at the wrong one here? Here we go. This is actually the tab, and I will put this in there. This is from Quillette, actually. I think this is more, there we go. All right. Much better. All right. So this is it. It's actually, When Men Behave Badly. This is Dr. David Buss. So if you want to, please be advised that Dr. David Buss is a great guy, and he's one of these guys that really kind of frustrates me, simply because he has all of this forensic evidence. He's got all this stats. He's got this mound of data that's just sitting in his lap, and it's, but I'm a feminist. But we can use this so we can prove women should be in power and should be the ones that are running the country. It's like Jeffrey Miller. I love Jeffrey Miller as a psychologist. I love him as a statistician. I just think that he uses that data to sort of reinforce whatever his his ego investments are. And if that's, well, the red pill guys don't know what they're talking about, or or if it comes down to cuckoldry, or if it comes down to living poly, he's going to find ways to sort of justify that with the data that he's got. Same thing with Dr. Steven Pinker, who is brilliant, by the way. I don't care what he was on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Okay, whatever. But like prior to that, when he was writing The Blank Slate, freaking brilliant. That would be one of the, if I have a top 5 list books that guys in the manosphere need to read, that would be one of them. Maybe number 4 of the 5. Definitely, it's The Blank Slate, The Modern Denial of Human Nature, which is has influenced a lot of the stuff that I've talked about. And yes, David Buss, still a good influence. And I think that I like seeing these guys from a data perspective, like even Marty Hazelton, who I've quoted many times, and her book, Hormonal, fantastic. If you can get past her first 2 or 3 paragraphs in every damn chapter trying to establish her feminist street cred. And once you get past that, you go, okay, well, here's what I found, right? Well, the reason why she's trying to get feminist street cred is because she knows that that's where the opposition is going to come from. She doesn't want to lose tenure. It's funny how like all of the research scientists that I quote that I say I have a problem with, like ultimately have a problem with the exception of Gad Saad, are university professors. And the reason they have to march a lot of their stuff back is because they know damn well that they're in academia, and they know that they might lose tenure if they say the wrong things. Oh, men and women are different. Get them out of here. You're out of here.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Yes. But David Buss is great. If you want to read his stuff, please do. I think he's got some brilliant stuff. He actually challenges, in some cases, ovulatory shift, which I think is more than backed up by what Marty Hazelton has done. But again, that's a healthy debate. Let's talk about it. Again, it's not like people want to say, well, I don't believe you because the science. Well, let's talk about, how do we come to these conclusions? Anyways, men behaving badly. Let's see. This is what I wanted to show you. So this was really good. This was really the part of this. I think this book or whatever, the book provides, this is something he'd written. Let's see. So, this is the male optimum versus female optimum, reproductive sort of conflict. And so there's a time elapsed before seeking intercourse, and there's a battleground conflict. Okay. So men are constantly trying to manipulate women into moving closer to their preferred optimum, right? Remember, we have competing, adversarial, but we certainly have competing sexual strategies prior to us coming together, forming a family, having babies, and everything else, right? What happens prior to that is very, very important. So men are constantly trying to manipulate women into moving closer to their preferred optimum. And women are likewise relentlessly influencing men to inch closer to theirs. So when it comes to competing sexual strategies, there is what is it that is optimal for women and optimal? I've said this a million times in all my books. What is it for women that looks like optimized hypergamy? What is it for men that looks like an optimal breeding situation, right? Or something that they want to invest in. I mean, why not have when it comes to poly? I think a lot of guys have this imagination of, oh, it's going to be like Dan Bilzerian, right? Or it's going to be like the Tate brothers, or it's going to be like, what is it? Bret Michaels in, the Rock of Love. We got all these, or The Bachelor, right? The Bachelor, we got all these, that's a fantasy, right? You go, look at these women, I got all this choice. It's like fantastic. I can't believe it. I've got it. Like, why is that the fantasy? Well, because that's the innate push for men. Like they want to be able to, I think most guys would like to invest in one woman, but they would also like to hit it with other women as well. And that, again, proximate cause versus ultimate cause. It's like not that they want to ultimately, they don't want to impregnate a bunch of women, but they want to have sexual access to a lot of women. And again, powerful men are defined by territory, resources, and access to a harem. And it's not to say that there's not a main. You don't have your main chick, the mother of your children, the one that you're invested in, but you still want to be able to hit it on the side. In fact, guys on Fresh and Fit talk about this all the time, like Myron and Fresh. You'll probably hear it tonight, right? It's a constant topic, which is powerful men, high value men should cheat. Like they're going all the way, right? Again, extremes, right? Remember the casino that is social media? That's pretty extreme. Women don't understand that because women want to be able to lock down a high value guy. If the guy is high value, they're not into casual sex with that guy. As I was saying before, women are less likely. Oh, I wanted to throw this on there too. This is actually, I just put this on a second ago. This is really good, by the way. Especially when you consider that, women want to say, well, we should force men to have their vasectomies. And let's see, that's it. Oh, this is really great. I meant to throw this on there. I won't read the whole thing, but women are less likely to care about condoms with attractive men, says this study. This was back in 2 years ago as well. May 23rd, 2019. Women are less likely to want to use a condom during sex. Women are less likely to want to use a condom during sex the more attractive they thought a guy was, according to a study from 2 British universities and the University of Guelph, Ontario. Guelph. That's a French word. The researchers who established the findings in PLOS. Okay, and by the way, PLOS is actually a pretty widely, well, it's a scientific journal. You guys can see. On Thursday, they were trying to figure out if a male stranger's attractiveness affected a woman's inclination to use a condom. So I'll put this in the thing, but the fact of the matter is this: is that the more attractive a woman is, the more likely she wants you to, nut in her. Let's just say that. I'll be honest. Okay. So, but why is that? Well, because hypergamy cannot afford to miss out on a golden opportunity. Again, you want to talk about hypergamy, you want to talk about quality versus quantity. That is the female mating strategy. And if you can't lock that guy down, you can at least have his baby and get locked down another guy who can pay for that baby. That is the dualistic nature of hypergamy. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. Alpha seed, beta need. Who's going to provide? Who's going to provision? Who's going to protect? Versus who's the best genetic option I can have. They don't. So do you think that the women in our example here,
yet again, the conversation.
Do you think she would be concerned with condoms if the guy was hot, if the guy was overly attractive, right? Do me now. Do you think she would want that guy to be sterile? The hot guy in the foam cannon party. There you go. There, every episode. Do you think she wants him to be sterile, to be impotent? Literally, in this case, impotent. Do you think that's the goal? I don't think so. So, ladies, be careful what you wish for. Again, this goes back to the male birth control kind of thing. It's like the hotter the guy is, the more imperative it is for that woman to lock that guy down. How do you do that? Have his kid. Oh, oops! I got pregnant. That's not a oops. That's a socioeconomic /life/ hypergamous mating strategy plan. And I'm not saying women are like fiendishly going, we're gonna lock all these guys down. No. When I hear this from women, when women throw this at me, they go, well, it sounds like Rollo is saying that there's this fiendish plot by women to want to just like destroy the lives of men by locking them down. That's this, like, it's forethought and malice, right? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's hindbrain. That's lizard brain. That's not like cognitive, like, oh, let's see if I can lock this guy down. Oh, it didn't work with him. I'll try to manipulate and screw over the next guy. That's not no, not at all. Because what you're doing is you're mixing proximate cause with ultimate cause. Ultimately, that woman wants to be what? Optimize hypergamy, be in a situation with a guy who's a high value guy, who is well above what she would otherwise merit, who doesn't know any better, and is part of a, let's say when women want socially enforced monogamy, when they've got the high value guy, when they've got that dude on the hook, and whether he's like bound to them by a child out of wedlock, and hopefully we'll get into wedlock with, right? When that guy is bound to that's optimal, man. He can't get away. And it's even better if he can be convinced by a romantic ideal that that's the way it ought to be. That he should be, oh, well, I know that she's not your ideal woman, but she'll try harder and she really wants to have babies with you. And now she wants to sort of turn over a new leaf and get things right. That's not some fiendish, malicious plot. That's just That's just the way it works. That's just how it moves along. It's not like there's you can go and probably find, forums where women are talking about like how better to trick a guy into thinking that he's the dad. You can find that all the time. There's a black market for positive pregnancy tests right now. That's not illegal, by the way. You can sell your positive test to any woman so that you can trick your boyfriend into, ladies, you can trick your boyfriend into thinking that he knocked you up. Oh, wow, I better get right. I better commit to him. I better give her a ring now because a baby's on the way. Yeah, I'm not saying though that certainly exists, but it exists because it's part of a process. It's not like I get thrown and trad cons will throw this at me too. Say, well, don't you think that women really want to turn over a new leaf when they hit 29 years old, 30, 31? Don't you think that they really do want to get right with God? Don't you think that they really do want to, start doing things the right way? Don't you think that they're done? They've had their fun and they want to get serious now, like it says in damn near every one of their profiles for, their dating profiles or Tinder or whatever. Don't you think that they're honest and genuine about it? Yes, I do. 100%. Do I think it's some fiendish, malicious forethought, malice or forethought plot? No, not at all. That's just it. It's not. That's why guys need to be aware of it, because they'll buy into it too. If you're the guy, if you're dumb and you're not red pill aware and you don't know any of this stuff, you have no idea what hypergamy is, and you're playing by that old rule set that you think that women are playing by as well, you think you've hit pay dirt. Your perseverance is finally paid off. Oh man, Susie, who wouldn't give me the time of day when she's 18, now she's 28. She wants to fuck my brains out. Yeah, of course she does. And it's not because she doesn't believe that you're a swell guy. You probably are. And probably to her, she's probably genuinely thinks that. It's not the genuineness or the disingenuous of it. It's the timing. It's right then and there. That's the point. That's what you have to be aware of. So, because what happens is once you're like 29, 30, 31 years old, you go, okay, I think I'll marry Susie. She's finally really turned out. She's finally matured. Her journey of self-discovery is finally over. And now she sees me for the swell guy that I am. Of course she does. And you believe it and she believes it. That's why. That's the point of the whole damn thing. It's not malicious. It's not you being dumb. It's how it happens. It's the convenience of it. It's the process of it. Get that through your goddamn right. And then what happens, right? Then suddenly these guys are disillusioned when they hit 36, 37 years old and they're actually hitting their sexual market value prime. And Susie doesn't look as hot and she's not as into him as she used to be, but there's lots of that, but his secretary sure is. And there's women that are really kind of, oh, what's this red pill thing? Right? Yeah. Then now you understand what your value could have been had you not, cast your chips in back when you were 28. All right. I wanted to throw that on there because I get a lot of crap for that. Oh man. And then I just as an aside, I got to put this in there because I was asked for this on I think it was like 2 shows ago. Somebody was asking me about this one. And so people ask me about this because they go, where the hell is Rollo talking about? This is Arizona Central. This is from, I want to say, when was this? Oh, again, 2019, 2 years ago. Arizona woman can use fertilized embryos to get pregnant without ex's consent, the court rules. Okay. I threw this in here today because we were talking about mandatory vasectomies, right? So you want to talk about taking over the reproductive process. Here it is right here in black and white. This is one of, I think, about 4 different stories where I was looking at, like, once the sperm leaves your body, you're completely powerless over it. And this is a really great example of this. A Phoenix woman can try to get pregnant using fertilized embryos without the consent of her ex-husband, who would become a father. The Arizona Court of Appeals ruled in a 2-1 decision. The court found that Ruby Torres' right to procreate outweighs her husband's, John Terrell's, interests not to. That is something I don't think enough people. And again, this is the United States. This is Arizona, whatever. That's the state of Arizona. But this is, I think this sets a precedent anyways. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But her right to procreate outweighs a man's right not to procreate. That's a distinction that not enough people, certainly not our little blonde girl, is paying attention to right here. So let me throw this on here. The court acknowledged its decision could make Terrell financially responsible for the child. Your ex-wife, who you had embryos with, her right to reproduce with you now makes you a financial liability to her so she can carry it to term. Torres, who is now 38, get it before it's get it while the getting's good. And Terrell preserved embryos in 2014 after she was diagnosed with a bilateral breast cancer, and an oncologist said she likely couldn't bear children after chemotherapy. The couple who was dating at the time agreed to preserve her embryos so she could get pregnant if she survived cancer. They married and later divorced. Torres, an attorney, testified that she wants to implant the embryos when and if she is remarried. So, alpha seed, beta need. During their divorce, Terrell asked the Maricopa County Superior Court to prevent Torres from becoming pregnant with the embryos. The court ruled that the embryos must be donated to a third party, but the appeals court overturned that ruling in a decision handed down on March 14th. This is 2019, remember. The trial court erred when it placed heavy weight on the party's inability to co-parent, wrote Judge Jennifer B. Campbell. Nothing in the record suggests that either of them expected or intended to co-parent any offspring derived from the embryos. Yeah, well, because they're ex-husband and ex-wife now. She wrote that the couple agreed to preserve the embryos to protect Torres's fertility, not necessarily to have children together in the future. According to the documents, Terrell originally declined when Torres asked him to donate sperm to fertilize her eggs. He changed his mind after she planned to use a prior boyfriend's sperm. So if I don't use your sperm, I'm going to go get this other guy's sperm. So you want to talk about sperm? God, I hate to use this term. Sperm jacking, right? You want to talk about that? Again, whose reproductive rights outweighs the others? And in a gynocentric social order, there's only one answer. It is women's gynocentric, women's reproductive process. Their control over that process will always supersede men's, always. That's why you're getting this crap about, even as a joke, right? It's a joke. Yeah, it won't be a joke when you see this for like the umpteenth time in the middle of August or September, prior to the U.S. Supreme Court taking this on. So I want to throw that out there because, and if you want that, I have the link. I'll put the link in the description so you guys can read the rest of that. Here you go. Warrior race. If men take authority, how long will that model last before women fight for power again? Right up until you get a generation of guys who think that the best way to solve their reproductive problem is to identify and to pander to women, or to believe in a blank slate, to believe that men and women are just the same, and we're all, to be a better man is to be a better woman. When you have a generation that does that, that's when men will lose the power again. I think the only model that would work is if we hold women accountable to the same standard. Good luck with that. In a gynocentric social order, it will never happen. As I just shown you with that sperm jacking, incident right there, women's reproductive right to procreate will always outweigh men's right not to procreate. If you want to even call it a right, you probably couldn't. Women need to be educated on their choices. Yes, they do. But the problem is that women lead with emotion, not with reason. So, yeah, most of the time, like, as I said before, abortions are like 92.6% of abortions are elective. And even the ones that aren't elective tend to be, what did I say? The 6%. What was that one? Let me throw that up there again. That was a good stat. Hang on. My bad. There it is. Oops. Wait a minute. There it is. The woman aborted for social or economic reasons, or no reason at all, which means it was elective. Right? So what do you do? Yeah, it must be men's fault, right? They can't keep it in their pants. According to the Arizona, legal system, your right not to procreate is superseded by women's right to procreate. End of story. End of stupid vasectomy, mandatory vasectomy argument right there. End of discussion. Because that's the way shit works in a gynocentric social order. So all your pretty little crying and all your, wide-eyed disbelief about, being forced to have a baby that you don't want. You know what? You don't have to worry about it. First of all, that's never going to happen. I want to say this too before I continue on with the rest of this. I don't expect anything whatsoever to come out of that Supreme Court ruling about the Mississippi rule, right? The late term abortion thing. Like after, I think what it is I'm spitballing here. I don't know this for a fact, but I think as I understand it, it is in Mississippi, they passed a law, or they want to pass a law that says after a child is at a certain stage of development that you can't abort the fetus. So like, I think it's like anytime in like the last trimester. And once the baby is able to feel and think and blah, 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 then you can't abort it. You can still abort, but you have to do it within the first 2 trimesters. All right, let's put, when is the moment of conception, right? When does a human being, when does any animal become like sentient, right? Well, it's the 2nd trimester, of course. That, you can make religious arguments out of that. And I want to make sure that I state that as well, because a lot of people will lead with emotion on this. She's clearly this psychotic right here
is up in America
is leading with emotion. And whenever it comes to abortion, that's what kills the conversation. Women have abortions because it is a fail-safe for bad reproductive choices. Why? Because women's right to procreate supersedes men's right not to procreate. Black and white. And that's the end of it right there as far as I'm concerned. But again, if you don't have a uterus, then you don't get a say at the table. No, I do get a say at the table. And when we talk about the legal standing of men's right not to procreate or not to be responsible for something that they procreated, we don't want to have that conversation. I should also, one other thing is that you got to remember that for women to have abortions, for women to have that right to choose, you think of all the other sub markets that are dependent upon that, right? There's the marriage market, there's a divorce market, there's interpersonal stuff, there's support, like supporting on AFDC, aid for dependent children, right? There's all kinds of other social programs and things that go along with it. It's multi-bazillion-dollar industries that circulate on that one decision. It's not going to get changed. It won't get changed for financial reasons. Sure as shit ain't going to get changed for moral reasons. As much as scared as modern leftist women are, feminist, leftist, whatever, if even tradcon women are about this, or even if they're not against it, it rubs them the wrong way. I know that. But even as quote unquote fearful as they are about this, it's not going to happen. And I think on some level of consciousness, they know it's not going to happen. Because there's too much that goes on around it. It's like the marriage industry, right? That's not going to change. It's not going to end up being anything different until everything collapses, until everything is just a shit sty, and we have to find some way to rebuild from that. It's not going to change. So because there's too much riding on it, there's too much money involved in it. Let's go over here. I just want to be precise. Hypergamy for women, not the general term hypergamy. Oh, okay, whatever, man. Whatever floats your boat, brother. Oh, let's see. So I missed this. Good mother said, what are men going to stop fighting over the manifestations that they're a result of feminism? They're not the result of feminism. That's just it. They're a result of men being different from women. That's what it is. Men are meritorious. Men have a different definition of what is respect. What makes a man respectable is earned. What makes women respectable is they have a vagina. That's pretty much it. There is no standard for that. Or we need to hold women to this. What do you say? Well, women need to be held as a warrior race. We need to hold women accountable to the same standards. Women need Women need to be educated on their choices. Yeah, they do. But again, you're not going to convince them. You're not going to convince a generation that is dependent on emotionalism with reason. You're not going to educate them. You're not going to change their minds about anything. The only time women change their minds is when there's nothing left, when there's no other option, when there's no other out, but to face it and work with it. And usually it's too late. Usually they're, when they finally come to, oh, I've matured. Yeah. Well, now that you're 38 or 40 or whatever, and you know that it's, your life plan is not the way that you thought it was going to go according to what your, mating strategy was, then yeah, then maybe, but not then. You're not going to convince those girls, a 23-year-old girl and fresh and fit that she should do anything different. Well, why should she? She's got a world that is reinforcing her and affirming that. You go, girl. That the whole world is telling her that. What could you possibly say that would change her mind about herself? What could you possibly do? They try to do it every day. Kevin Samuels, Fresh and Fit. God knows anybody else in the Black manosphere is trying to do this too. Well, because it's, it gets eyes on the screen. But what could you possibly say that is going to make them change their mind about it? You're not changing anybody's mind. That's why I said it's a point of diminishing returns. So you have to work with that. You have to know the game and play the game better. It's not about them. It's about you, really. Lower your expectations about women and you'll never be disappointed. You'll get, okay, I get it. You want to know where amuse mastery comes from? Like the technique, again, I'm writing about it actually in the game, but why are older guys so much better at amuse mastery? Because I'm going to tell you a story. This is funny, but because we have the understanding, hopefully, if you're red pill aware and you understand the nature of women for as long as you have, you just like, yep. I love my grandfather a lot. I wish I had been like a little bit more closer to him. I wish I would have been able to talk to him a little bit more, just to sort of get, like, me being an older guy now, but I wish I would have been able to just sort of pick his brain a little bit, because, and even my father-in-law, my wife's father, is very much alpha male. And whenever like there's talking going on, or when the women are talking about this, or they think they're talking about politics or philosophy or whatever, or the kids, our daughters, whatever, are doing whatever that they're doing. And there comes a point, and my grandfather did this, and my father-in-law does this too, where they just do this. And it's like, because I think there's just this subconscious understanding that's like, what's the point? It's amuse mastery, and they don't even know that they're using amuse mastery, and they're not even necessarily red pill per se, but there's this acknowledgement that nothing they're going to say is going to convince them. And just like, you're going to educate them. Certainly not after, they're adults. You're not going to educate them. There's this, if they're, emotionalism is their thing. And you could certainly step up to the plate and you can go, damn it, this is the way things are going to work out in this house. And you can become the patriarch of the thing. But you know what? You're still not, especially in a gynocentric social order, you're not going to change their mind. You're not going to say anything that's going to change their mind. So my grandfather's like, and just in that presence, you just know that there's like, whatever. Let's see. Did I miss anybody else? I think let's see. Oh, damn it. Thanks. Sammy has been doing yeoman's work, whatever that means, in getting me these super chats back to me so I can talk to each and every one of you regarding mental point of origin. This is from Facundo. Regarding mental point of origin in marriage, what would be a good time management between time with your wife and the other woman, like your job or your hobbies? Okay, I get it. It's not about time management, man. It's about changing your mind about yourself. What's your priorities? What is important to you? Okay. I have a lot of things that I like to do. I'll tell you one thing about hobbies, and I've done actually a full episode on hobbies before. Women don't mind men's hobbies if those hobbies impart status, if those hobbies impart physical fitness, right? If your hobby is like playing basketball with the boys after work, whatever, you're a bodybuilder, that's a hobby that women really love, right? Because they benefit from it. There's some side benefit from it, whether it's status or it's your looks or it's, whatever it is. So it sort of depends on what her investment in you is. So if your hobby is collecting Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever, then yeah, that's probably not going to be something that's going to impart any of those. It's going to be, oh, this is so childish. Again, go check that episode out. It's about hobbies actually, but so it's not about like time management as much. Like people need to remember that the mental point of origin isn't like, it's not a practice. I hate to say it's a mindset, but it's a way of internalizing yourself as the first thing that comes to your mind when you're faced with a decision. That's the best way I can put it, right? Like you say, well, it's self-importance. Yeah, it is, but it's not like make yourself number one. That's stupid. That's easy. It's easy for me to sit here and bullshit you with the Tony Robbins stuff, right? Be number one in your life. Think about you first. You need to internalize the idea, or you internalize the thought process that when somebody asks you something, somebody gives you something, somebody presents you with an opportunity, somebody asks you to make a decision about something. Even if you're married or you're not married, you might, I don't care if you're 13 years old or you're 93 years old, right? You're faced with some sort of decision, and generally you're conditioned as a guy to think of others before yourself. And that's where it comes. You have to unlearn that first of all. And you say, well, that makes you selfish or a selfish prick. Well, it does in your thought process, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a selfish prick in your life. It's just that what the first thought that enters into your brain is, how does this affect me? Instead of, how does this affect my wife, my girlfriend, my mom, my family, my XYZ, I don't care who it is in your life, right? Oh man, what would my dad say? And maybe you don't care, right? But what will my mom say? What would Jesus say, right? What would my CEO say, right? What do you say? Where do you fit in that thought, in that chain of thinking, or that chain of process, right? It's like, for most guys, it's this. They're faced with an opportunity or a decision that they have to make, and then the chain of continuance of that thought usually starts with, how is this going to affect my wife? How is this going to affect my girlfriend? How is this decision going to affect my ability to solve my reproductive problem? How is this? And you don't even have to have a girlfriend. How is this decision going to impact my personal life? Like my future girlfriend, my future wife. If I move to this city, so from there, then maybe it goes down a chain. Like, who else do you think? Oh, mom and dad, me. You're maybe number 4 at the end of that. And again, this is not something that guys like cognitively think of. It's just, pow. It's like, it's peripheral awareness. It's peripheral thinking. It's really hard for guys to really wrap their heads around that. That is what mental point of origin is. And you're going to hear this very soon. I would say probably within the next couple of weeks, because a lot of guys are going to jump on this. They've already started to jump on this. Now, we're going to talk about ROLLO, TOMASSI, and mental point of origin. And you know what it's going to sound like? It's going to sound like fucking Tony Robbins. That's what it's going to sound like. It's going to sound like, hey, think about yourself first, and you can walk across these hot coals. That's not what it's about. It's about internalizing yourself as the first thing that jumps in your mind when you're faced with a decision. That's the easiest way. Now, there's other aspects of it too, but that's the easiest way for me to describe it. So who is running the machine? Who's running your machine, your brain, your body, or whatever, if your first thought isn't, how does this affect me? Instinctually, because it will supersede your instinct even. Well, I've got to be serviceable. Do unto others before they do unto you, as they would do unto you, right? Be serviceable. Think of others before you think of yourself. Men have been taught that for generations, for millennia right now. Well, it's all about, it's very communitarian. It's very egalitarian. You got to be useful to the community. And I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but you also have to think of yourself before you can be useful to your community. Who's more useful? The guy who went to college and comes back and brings clean drinking water to his community because he thought of himself first, or the guy that's just sitting around there trying to make the best of things with the dirty water that they have? It's enlightened self-interest. I have to think of myself first. I cannot succeed as well as when I think of myself first. I can't help others as well as when I help myself first. That's mental point of origin. Not make yourself number one. Yeah. Let's all jump up and down. It's not what it is. I feel like I needed to clarify that. Good mother. Fire all the diversity hires and women from the babysitting jobs and reallocate funds to create new jobs for men. Instant hypergamy. Golf clap. Well done. Let's see it. Okay, so show me the plan. Show me the bullet points. Let's see. What else do I have in here? Good mother. Oh, I'll come back to you. Hold on a second. Omega Sigma, thanks for that $5 sticker. Alan LaFontaine says, I want to be come up with the French accent, but you're probably not even French. I just want to be precise. Hypergamy. Okay, I got to that. Rollo, you're about to hit almost 100,000 subs. Great job, brother. Thank you, Sancho Bohemian. Yeah, I am. I'm getting there. And I will say this, that's kind of a point of contention for me, honestly, because I'm actually kind of comfortable being in the 90s range right now. I mean, I'm going to hit to 100,000. I'm glad I am. And please do hit the subscribe button. Please keep subscribing. But once you hit 100,000, once you hit 100K, that's when YouTube starts to take notice of you. That's when you get the little plaque on the wall. Should I put the plaque on the wall? I should make a poll and say, should I put the YouTube plaque after 100,000 on the wall, on the back wall here? It's probably like a bronze medal or some shit like that. But the problem is once you get to 100,000 subs, that's when YouTube assigns you a handler. They call it your channel liaison at YouTube. No, they're actually watching you, and they're paying more attention to you now because you're over 100,000 subs. So I'm a little. I'll be glad. It'll be awesome. 100,000, great. All natural, no buying subs, no buying comments, no Chinese spam in my commentary, no buying views. This is all organic and it's all on. Thank you, listener, reader, watcher of this channel. Thank you. It's all because of you. Thank you. Hey Rollo, you missed my earlier super chat. What is it? Oh, here it is. So what she's saying is that men are the real life bringers and not women. I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, AQVXZ11C3PO. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because what I think would happen. Like, I'm all for mandatory vaccinations, mandatory vasectomies. I'm going to mess that up the entire show. I mean, you say, oh, what does he say? Are you for it? Yes, I am. Absolutely. If it was reversible, if it was as these women like are fantasizing, and even this, pansy ass, male allies, the only reason that they're bringing this up is because it's a joke. It's the same. Vasectomies and abortion, the same. No, they are not the same. And I'll tell you what, if you could reverse them, I would be the first one to be an advocate for reversible vasectomies for guys. If it was as easy as going down there and just having a quick 2-hour 3-hour procedure, whatever you got to do to get it done, I would be the first one to I would be an affiliate marketer for you if that was the case, because what that would do is it would kill industries overnight. Because if enough guys went and did that and they said, you know what, screw it, I still want to get laid, it's not going to infect my testosterone. If it was 100% safe, 100% like, you're still your own person, you just can't get a girl pregnant, whatever, you put that degree of unilateral control over the human reproductive process back in men's hands. That's why I brought up Vagisil or Vasagil. Because once you put that back in men's hands, you want to talk about something that is a social disruptor, that will be it. And they'll say, well, that's going to be enough. There'll be betas who will want to knock women up. Yeah, only betas. The guys who can enjoy unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, and they can do so without the risk of ever impregnating a woman, or it's on their choice. Now it's his body, his choice. Not that that's going to happen, but the alpha males that women want to get with, because the beta male side has already been sort of more or less taken care of for women in a post gynocentric social order. When you put that control back in men's hands, that will like I said, there are $1 million industry, bazillion dollar industries that are dependent on the fact that we have legal safe abortion, and that women are the only deciders when it comes to it's eugenics. Basically, it's like they're the deciders of who gets born and who doesn't get born. And so, well, what about men? It takes two to tango. Oh, men. Okay, well, you're just saying that. Well, if that's the case, then we can remove that, and you won't have to worry about that. Then what? Supergirl, Wonder Woman. Then what? Yeah, you know what will happen is the guys that you want to reproduce with will say, no, nope, can't lock me down. Got the snip. Fuck you. You have to do what I want you to do. If you want to have babies, you know that maternal instinct, your biological clock is ticking. You don't get to have that solved. You don't get your reproductive problem solved with the highest value guy that you think you deserve. Go get with those betas that'll knock you up. Go right ahead. They didn't get the snip because they want to identify with the feminine, right? I would never do that. You would see very quickly. I would say probably within, like, if you could actually have that, if you could actually have a safe vasectomy that was reversible, you would have guys who would instinctively know that they would get this. Like I say, a majority of guys would probably get it. They're talking about mandatory. I'm just talking about voluntary. Right? If it was available, I'd be like, hell yeah, go. It would probably, you would drop fertility rates precipitously, but women will get what they want, right? You got it, baby. Fertility rates are in the toilet. You're not going to convince women that they need to get with guys they don't want to get with because of silly statistics of fertility rates. I want what I want. That's what you're dealing with, not like rational, reasonable, they're not a co-rational agent. That's men, and you can't breed with them. So like if you had that option, that would really disrupt a lot, I think, of the gynocentric social order if that were the case. I don't think it would be as major a disruption as a lot of guys would like to make it be, but I think in the long term it would be, because it would put the control at least back in the hands of the men that women want to breed with. They want to get with that guy. They want to get knocked up. They want to have that guy. That's how women primarily lock guys down. How do women inherit? How do women get a lot of money, right? They divorce or they inherit it. Well, they got to lock down the guy in the first place, or the guy has to be, it either has to be their husband who died and they inherit it, or maybe they get it through their dad, or else they divorce the guy like Bezos or now soon to be Bill Gates. And they get the money. It's a long game. It's a long plan. Let's see. Rightful Ape says, Rollo, I'm late to the party, but thanks for the $20, man. But what advice would you give to a guy who spends 90% of his week at work, but wants to get out there? By the way, keep up the great work. Thank you. Get out there. What are you doing that's consuming 90% of your time? You want to talk about time management and budgeting, right? What are you doing? Well, what is so bloody important? I think what's interesting to me is a lot of guys who get into that situation. Maybe you're in the military, maybe you have your own business, maybe you're just focused on. I do a lot of stuff myself, but I try to make time for my hobbies. I try to certainly make time for my band, my dogs. I have other things that I do that have nothing to do with this. I actually have another job, which is my liquor promos occasionally. I do make this a priority. I'm trying to do some other things as well, but I spend a lot of time doing this and I spend a lot of time doing other things too. So it's just sort of like what's worthwhile to you, I think, is the first thing. And then secondly is if you need to get out in the field, if you need to start running game, if you want to meet women, if that's what you want to do, don't let people discourage you from, you should spend 100% of your time balling, man. You need to keep your nose to the grindstone and the women will just drop in your lap. Yeah, they'll drop in your lap and you won't know you will have no clue. You'll be completely unprepared for the woman who drops in your lap. So yes, you do. I would say this, if you've only got 10% of your time left to you, then decide how much of that 10% you want to spend on learning game, being out there, being social, having friends. It doesn't necessarily even have to be girls, right? You just have friends. Get out there. Stop. The only solution is the solution you already know, Rightful Ape, which is you're going to have to back off a little bit. Can you ease off? Can you back it up to 80% instead of 90%? That's the question. That's a question only you get to answer. You can answer. So, what the hell? Collaborate with Coach Greg Adams. I think you mean Poach Greg Adams. I will probably never be working with Greg Adams. I probably will never be working with Coach Greg Adams. I probably will never be working with Joker either. And it's not that I have anything personally against Joker. It's just that I don't know, we're kind of in different realms, I think. Coach Greg Adams, I have a personal problem with because of what happened between him and Rich Cooper. So, and that is just the way it's going to be. And, you know, and until he acknowledges that, until he realizes that, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So that's why. Phil says, Rollo, why do girls beta-tize? Beta-tize. Is that a verb now? Beta-tize? She baited me. No, you were already beta. She just like used that against you. Beta-tize and then discard guys. Is it a subconscious test? No, you're already beta to begin with. Nobody's beta-tizing you except for you. Okay. Now, guys will say this. Well, I lost the frame. Rollo, I was so alpha before we got married. I was so alpha before this, and now I'm beta-tized. Oh, I backslid. That's on you. That's on not on her. You know, that's on you not establishing and maintaining your own identity. That's you not making yourself your own mental. You know how women beta-tize you because you don't have mental point of origin, and you look at scarcity as a mating strategy. That's why. I think scarcity. I was just talking about this with Ryan on Twitter. I think this morning actually. The reason why guys like want to be persistent, right? I'm going to get in there, right? Oh, she said she rejected me at first, but now I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be persistent. Eject. Next, fast. Next, often. Get out quick. Get out often. If it's not working the way you want it to, get out. It's as Myron will tell you, it's a numbers game. If you're not seeing dividends within, for just a minimal bit of effort, then okay, gone. There's, next. That's what nexting used to be. Anybody remember that? Remember next? I think that's something that we ought to still recall from like the old PUA days is nexting. Next fast, next often. Well, what if you throw the baby out with the bathwater? That is the voice of a scarcity mentality. Oh, well, what could be? She might be the one. Yeah, if that's the case, you know what? If that's the case, you probably should stick with it because we don't want you in the sexual marketplace. You should keep chasing your tail, beta man. That's why. Please do. Please keep doing that because you remove yourself from the pool. Is it subconscious test? No, I think what you're thinking of is a shit test, right? I think really the testing is this guy for real? Women will test guys without thinking about it. Remember just a little earlier, I was saying, well, is it malice or forethought? Or women doing this on purpose? Do they know what they're doing? Is it intent? No, it's part of the brainstem. It's a hindbrain. It's a lizard brain. It's the brainstem, the hypothalamus, whatever. That's like in the middle of the brain. And then there's the hypothalamus, and then there's the gray matter. It's at the very base, right? Women will shit test men as subconsciously as men will stare at big tits. And for the same reason, they're testing for viability, for relatability, for can I get in there kind of thing. What else did I miss? I missed one. I missed a few of these, didn't I? Oh, good mother. Good mother of God. How can men compete properly with all these equity policies and preferential treatment entitlements that feminists use to oppress all the men? Stop playing. Stop playing with those. At some point, they're going to get to a point. See, here's the thing you want to talk about equity policies? What you're looking at when we look at differences in women when it comes to like their ideas of like what should be policy. When you put women into power, when you put women into a gynocentric social order, those policies tend to reflect women's wants, needs, fears, certainly existential fears, and the priorities, the feminine imperative. I use that term. I coined that term way back in the foggy days of 2000 and, what was it?
I was there 3,000 years ago.
3,000 years ago. And the feminine imperative is exactly that. Like in a gynocentric social order, what are the prioritizations? What's the first order of business, right? Usually it's how can we make women more powerful? That's the first order of business. But then the other thing is they do so from a position of like equity or communitarianism or social. You want to know why socialism is such a big, is like we're considering it, why it's even something that's a topic right now? It's because it's a female way of thinking about how things should be run, how things should be a community, communitarianism. Let's all get together. Like you get one and you get one and you get one and you get one, and everybody will be happy if we're all just the same. And a male way of thinking about it, of course, is meritocracy. You did better than Jim, who did better than John, who did better than Joe, and you get 5 and you get 3 and you get 1. And the reason why we do that is because we men establish hierarchies. We establish competition hierarchies. So the reason why you get equity policies and preferential treatment and entitlements and hubris and communitarianism and egalitarianism and the idea that an equal partnership is a great marriage. Poly. Why is that a good deal? Well, because at some point, somewhere along the way, it appeals to a feminine mindset. It appeals to emotions first. It appeals to the communitarianism that defines women's psyches. That's why. And the only way that you can do that with if you want to change things, you want to stop playing, create your own society, create your own country, create your own thing. And it's like people say, that's impossible. You're going to do it. Well, yeah, it's impossible to the point where how possible do you want to make it is really the question. Do you really want that to happen? Okay. You don't. Men they're not going to get together and tribalize and, sing Kumbaya until they can get women on board with that too. Why don't guys go to church, right? Why don't guys go to youth group? Why don't guys go to Bible study? When it comes to like finding women or getting with chicks, why is it that guys don't go, hey, you know what? I bet there's some hot chicks at Bible study. Because that's not what you're thinking. That's not going to solve your problem. It's like, they're part of the tribe. They're part of the community. Well, yeah, but why is it that you don't think that? No, because you're still in a gynocentric social order, even when you're in your own religion right now. Phil, why do girls beta? Oh, okay, I did you already. And Dugan, any recommendations for the best shrink wrap? You mean like a condom? Is that what you're talking about? I think that's probably what you mean. I don't know. I haven't used a condom in certainly 25 years. Over 25 years, quite honestly. Let's see. Yeah, I'm looking at you guys. Okay, so now we are at the super chat portion of the show today. Our show today. Your arms are looking good, Rollo. Thank you. Thank you. I tell you what's funny is Rollo, give the dogs a pet for me. I will, as soon as I let them in. I booted them out right now. The problem I have, I want the dogs in here. I love it when the dogs are in the studio with me. The problem is like anytime I do that, I guarantee you somebody's going to the front door and they're going to go right out the front door. I'm like, okay, now I have to restart the show. Or they might run into like a tripod or something in here. But if they're like wiped out, if I take them on a run and they're like all sleepy, then they make good. And then that's good Greyhound cam material. GBU, mate. Many people agree with you. Godfather, just no, not completely. Well, good. I hope people don't agree with me completely. I'm not a cult leader. I've never had aspirations of being a cult leader, despite what all the idiots on my commentary of my blog seem to think. People have accused me of that for a long time. Oh, that Rollo is a cult leader. He just wants to have guys, or he just wants this ideological purity. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. If I was going to be a cult leader, I'm a pretty bad fucking cult leader. I'm still waiting for my tithe checks to show up in my post box right now. I still haven't seen any tithe checks from you cultists of mine. I should start a cult. I should. That would be awesome. Cult O Rollo. You guys would love being a cult member too. I would make it the most awesome bitchin' cult you would ever been in. Cult member. Okay, so here's your ritual. You've got to learn to play guitar. That's number one. So you have to give your cult, like your followers, they have to have rituals and regulations and things to follow. So here's your first one. You got to learn to play guitar first off. Okay, it could be bass, it could be drums too. So you have to at least attempt that. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to attempt it. So start on that. That's initiation level for my acolytes. Number one, you have to do that. And then You gotta learn to surf. Okay. You have to make a pilgrimage to Huntington Beach in California, which is a badass place to be right now. Or Maui or where's good surf right now? When I think of surf, I think of Santa Cruz and I think of like Huntington Beach, but I think it's probably not the best place. Certainly Maui, right? South Africa, I think, has good surf too, right? I don't know. But you got to learn to surf. That's another thing. So if you want to be like the next level and like the high priesthood, then you got to learn how to do that. You have to have a notch count minimum of 20. If you're a guy, if you're a girl, you have to have a notch count maximum of 4. Okay, 4, just 4. You only get 4 lovers in your life, ladies, in the cult of Rollo. And if you a little bit, there's a little wiggle room, but let's just we have to have that. Okay, so that'd be on there too. What else should we have our cult? Let's build a cult, guys. What should be in our cult? Aaron Clary, holy mother of mackerels! Is that really Aaron Clary? I don't think so. It might be. Vasectomies are the highest 2 for men. Are the highest 2 for men? Please, who let the boomer on the internet? Okay, it is really Aaron Clary. Okay, Aaron Clary. It's the best investment you can make, isn't it? If you could get. Oh wait, did I get this? This is pertinent to what I was going to say. If select men had access to safe, reversible vasectomies, would women eventually cave into reproducing with betas, or would they rather die out? Probably die out, at least in the beginning, anyways. There would have to come a time, what you would see, I think, is if this were the truth, if you could have safe and reversible vasectomy. If that were the case, think about let's just fantasize here. Let's extrapolate a bit here. First of all, I think you would see a lot of the things that would happen according to child support would dry up. And if anything, I think it would be more draconian. I think what would happen is, it still wouldn't prevent guys from being sperm donors for sperm banks. I think it might prompt different technologies. What is it? Exegesis, is that? I hope I'm saying the right word here. Test tube babies, but in a pod, right? Curse of the podlings or some shit like that. I think you would see it would prompt other inventions as well. But we're already, you're only gonna, if you had that, would that accelerate it? Would it accelerate women's decline that much more? Because as I said before, and even in book 4 here, according to Morgan Stanley in Rise of the She Economy, by 2030, was it 52% of women prime working age women between 25 and 44 will be single and childless. Would it accelerate that? I think it probably would. I think it would accelerate. I think it would probably exacerbate that a little bit more too. Right now, so let's take this out of context or put it into context. Let's just say right now, poly seems like a good idea. And the reason why it seems like a good idea for guys is because they think that it's their only shot at, beta males love poly because they think it's their only shot at a 4 or a 5, as if they play along or they're the cuck, right? I mean, sometimes literally the cuck. Or else they have these fantasies that they're going to be the one dude, like the alpha male, that's going to have all these chicks, and they don't have to marry these girls. They just have to their sister wives or something. I play along. I goof off once in a while with the girls on Fresh and Fit. I'm going to make these girls my sister. I'm going to make Kiki Clout. She's first on the list for my sister wives. Right? As soon as she's done with the industry, I don't want her now, but once she's 28. I'm joking. I'm fucking with you. Okay. I can do that. But yeah, I mean, when you look at how alpha seed and beta need has been taken care of in a legislative sense, in a sociological sense, women today, we say this all the time in the manosphere, women today believe, at least perceptually, that the beta buck side of hypergamy is already met. Because you say, well, what do you bring to the table, ladies? They'll say, I have a job, I do nails, I do eyelashes, I do this, I'm a factory, and I'm never a factory worker, I work in a legal office, I have a job, I make my own damn money, I'm in school right now and I'm getting my degree so that I can do this. Even whether it's a worthless degree or not is irrelevant. irrelevant. The idea is that women are independent enough that they can be independent of men. So what is that independence from? That independence is from the beta buck side of the long-term security needs of hypergamy. Alpha seed and beta need represent two different sides of what women need in life, right? They need the genetic benefits, the sexy sons. That's why they want to bang the alphas. That's why they would rather not wear condoms with a guy that they find very attractive. We have the stats to prove that. I just work here, man. But women also perceive or also believe that they have an independence and a security that is apart from having to rely on men. So what does that leave? If the beta buck side, even if it's not true, but let's just say it is true, or women believe that it's true, if the beta buck's provisioning, security, protection, parental investment, whatever, is met by the state, is met by the society, is met by the church a lot, is met by a social order, a gynocentric social order, if that perception is what women believe, what's left? Alpha fucks, alpha seed. That guy, the guy who's the high value guy, the guy that she doesn't want you to wear the condom, right? That guy, hot guy in the foam cannon party, no condom, barebacking it right now here in Cancun. That guy is few and far between. He's a high value guy that women are all competing for. That guy's going to be living high on the hog for a while, as long as he can figure out, as long as he is red pill wearing and knows the game that he's in, right? That's neither here nor there. But if that guy also says, you know what, ladies, you told me I needed to get a vasectomy, so snip, and it's snip, and now I don't have to worry about it. You guys, you can have all this all you want, and I'm never going to commit, and you're never going to get a baby out of me, and you're never going to lock me down with the baby, and you're never going to trap me with it. You're never going to give me birth fraud. You're never going to make me financially or personally responsible for a child that I don't want. Congratulations. My priority of not wanting a kid supersedes your right to procreate, as we were saying before. So now the high value guy is the guy that she can't have a baby with. Imagine what that's going to do to not Generation Z, the one that comes afterwards, right? My grandchildren. Imagine what that will do if that's the case. Again, we're fantasizing here. If they could have, that's why I don't think you will ever see safe. And there probably is a technology where they could do this very easily, but you're never going to see it commercially available because they know what a disruptor it would be. They know that. Hell, I mean, look at 60 years of hormonal birth control and what a disruptor it's been to certainly Western cultures, if not like even non-Western cultures. Look at what is done to the social order in just a short 60 years. It is more, I've made this argument before, is that hormonal birth control and the sexual revolution that came after it is more significant an invention than atomic power, than atomic nuclear weapons. There's nothing that like nuclear weapons. Yeah, it kills people, just kills you dead, right? And we all know that, okay, well, that's the end of it. That's the end of us. Shit's over if we use these things. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not significant, but you know what changed society, human societies more than anything else, is the ability for women to control reproduction unilaterally with no buffers on their mating strategy. That has been the single most disruptive social event in the history of humanity. It's certainly over the last 60 years. And we're still seeing how all the cards are shaking out right now. Throw into the mix a reversible, reliable form of male birth control where the man says, you're not having a baby unless I decide you're having a baby. Like the guy in Arizona whose ex-wife wants to have their fertilized children, right? Well, I didn't want her to have a baby with her ex-boyfriend, so I inseminated her, but now I don't really want her to do it. Like, again, as it was said in that article, a woman's right to procreate supersedes a man's right not to procreate. Take that away from them, and that disrupts society. Because if women are already taken care of, the beta buck security side, the long-term security side, by the state, by beta males, by resource transfers, by all this other, and I know I'm sounding all MRA here, but if that's the case, and all they want to get with is the alpha males because they want to breed with those guys, they want the good set, proximate versus ultimate, they want to have the sex with those guys, but they without a condom, right? Why do they want them not to wear a condom? Because of the possibility of pregnancy. That's why. I want to feel you. Of course you do. It's not a fiendish plot. It's just what your brain says. Boy, it would be really great if you would just nut at me. Oh, that'd be so sexy. Other freaking niches of porn for that right now. I'm sure they're very appealing to women. But, you know, but you do that with the guys that women want to naturally breed with. And you say, you know what? You can nut all you want. I got no swimmers. I don't know. Is that how it works? I don't know. I do not have a vasectomy and I have no desire to get one. Let's see. Did I get that? Thank you. That was actually a pretty good one. I do think that the beta males would cave in, but I don't think that it's going to change the selection process all that much, by the way. AQ. Oh, man. Thank you, Black Sheep, for that 99 bucks. Thank you very, very. In fact, you go to the front of the class. You go to the front of the class.
You sly dog. You got me monologuing.
Yeah. Didn't think that was going to hit as well as it did. All right. Thank you very much, Black Sheep, for that 99 bucks. Much, much appreciated. Do I have anything else up here? I do. Aaron Clary. What are you doing in my, get out of my, what are you doing? Get off my lawn. Let's see. Any thoughts on guys like Howard Stern openly using shrink wrap with their own wives? Yeah, probably because she doesn't want to have your babies. I talked about this in the last names thing. Of course, I was like fishing for, that was bait, by the way. But women don't want your shitty genetics, and then they don't want your shitty last name. If they're not taking your last name, odds are somewhere along the way, subconsciously, she sees you as a beta. You're not the guy she wants to breed with. You're the guy who's useful enough to have around. And it has nothing to do with, whatever. It has nothing to do with her wanting to be a rock star or a lawyer. I don't know. Why is Howard Stern using a shrink wrap with his wife? I don't know. Is it because she's not on the pill and he doesn't want to knock her up? I don't know I've never even heard of that. C. Dugan. Irish Alpha, your prediction was on point. R.E. Melinda Gates. Yes, it was. Wait a minute. Yes, it definitely was. The European media is portraying her as a gender hero for taking a courageous stand regarding the Epstein connection. Here we go. Sad how the man who made her independent is being smeared. Yeah, but you know what? She knew this. She knew he was going to get smeared. He's getting smeared. I don't care whatever you like. I think he is like, Bill Gates is who doesn't hate Bill Gates right now? Who doesn't want, like, the tradcons hate him because they think he's the devil. They think he's going to give him the mark of the beast and some implant or some shit. And then there's women hate him because he's like, because he's got a mistress in, North Carolina beach somewhere. And then that wasn't enough. So now it's like, now there's impropriety that's going on with one of the co-workers, and even his like co-workers don't have anything to do with him. And he's just like a pariah all of a sudden. And now Epstein, the stink of Epstein and Ghislaine is on him now too. And it has been, I get it. You are ahead of the curve. Okay. You're cooler than the rest of us for knowing this, but yeah, all the shit that was that connection with Epstein right now. Dude, just crawl under a rock somewhere. I mean, if you're as rich as that guy, why are you not just saying, fuck it, I'm out. I'm going to go buy an island. See you later. And you know what? All the chicks you're bitching about, I'm going to go buy up a whole bunch of native tribes women and have them serve me Mai Tais. Yep. And Melinda Gates will be a hero in the same way that Mackenzie Bezos is. I'll put this up again. Thank you very much, Black Sheep, for your $99 contribution. I will put it towards actually, I'll put it towards vet bills. Thank you very much. Vasectomy was the best money I never spent. Yeah. There's I've written, you'll have to see, I actually linked it in the description down there. I've got some really choice essays about vasectomies and how women see them as sort of this final triumph of like grinding their high heel into your nuts kind of thing. Like, oh, well, they're just teasing you. It's just a joke. No, it's not. It's unconscious contempt for you as a beta and her inability to optimize hypergamy because she decided you were a better bet than trying to lock down the alpha that she could never lock down. Rollo, you going to have another collab with Cappy? I don't know. Should I? You want me to have another one? It's like, what is it? Statler and Waldorf, man. It's like those two old men from the Muppet Show when we're on there. I try to stay young. He tries to stay old. He wants to be old. I want to be young. He knows what I'm talking about too. We need to do, you know what we ought to do? We need to sit down next time. I wonder if I should just go to South Dakota. Maybe I should drive to South Dakota. Is it South Dakota or North Dakota? I need to go to Dakota, one of the Dakotas, and sit down with him. And we need to sit in like some old ass bar and smoke like a big old stogie. And then we should have like nothing but call-ins. And it should be youngsters. And they should come up with like the most inane, stupid questions possible so we can go, get out of here. It'll be like Gran Torino, right? What are you doing? What are you kids doing here? That's what we ought to do. And make it like, not like a studio thing, but we should like sit in like an old timey bar. I don't drink, but like he drinks. And then we'd have cigars and like, what do you want? I would do it. I'd do it in a second. Also, would you go Pop? You mean Pop? You mean Terrence Pop? I don't have a problem with Terrence Pop. If that's what you were implying. That was that. And I got to you. And then I got these last ones here. I think I got to everybody today. So the people at the top are red pill, but using the information cynically. No. If they know this, if they know all this like we do, but refuse to stop, why are they doing this? Who are you talking about? People at the top? You mean like red pill guys or alpha males? Alpha male, remember this. Here's another bit of a ROLLO wisdom for you. Just because you are alpha male, or if I would consider you alpha male, or anybody else would consider you alpha male, just because you're alpha, you're a high value guy, or whatever the euphemism is today, just because you like are identify with that, or people identify you with that, doesn't mean you're red pill. No, quite the opposite. I mean, there's plenty of blue pill alpha guys. And as I say, they make the worst white knights ever. Because they'll be the ones that'll like go, hey, you leave her alone. You stay away from her. Don't you have respect for, we should have a default respect for women. Because they think that, and they're alpha, man. They're built. They, my mother brought me up the right way. No, I'm channeling my inner Drew Bay right now, but no, remember, those are mutually exclusive terms, okay? There's not people at the top. Who's at the top? Who are we talking about at the top? Are we talking about like alpha male guys at the top, but using information cynically? The way you use that information is really on you, man. That's why I keep saying, like when you talk about black pill doomers and everything, black pill is not the black pill. It's just the red pill. It's just how they use that. What's their prescription for that? MGTOWs, MRAs, PUAs, tradcons for sure. Like name the guys, right? The black manosphere, whatever you want. Those are prescriptions. Those are how do we use this information? The red pill is the information. That's the awareness. It's the praxology. It's the loose science that is still under development, for better or worse. The practice, like people, like that's part of the reason I wanted to do the fifth book. Like people kept saying, well, ROLLO, what's a book I can learn game? I'm not going to teach you game. I'm going to teach you why game principles work and how you can I would not expect you to use all the 48 laws of power. I hope you wouldn't, right? There's some pretty bad, unethical laws of power, right? Like, what is it? I forget which number it is, but it's like, get other people to do the work, but take all the credit, plagiarize people. That's pretty fucked up, but it is a law of power and you do need to use it. That doesn't mean you would use it like you would ever use it yourself, because it goes against your convictions and against your beliefs and everything else. But that doesn't mean that other people won't use it and you don't need to know it yourself. Information, practice. Would I actually use this? No, probably not. Is it valuable to know? Yes, it is. What was the other? There's even one there. There's create a cult like following, like play on people's need to believe to create a cult like. Well, maybe I'm doing that now, right? Go learn to surf. But it's not like I would use that. Like I understand it. I would use it so I would avoid like being dragged into like the orgasm cult or whatever that XVVM cult is or whatever that shit is. If you have that as a sort of an insight and an education to protect yourself, I say it's a net benefit. But no, I mean, they're just are they using its information cynically? Men will use the red pill according to whatever their ideologies are, whatever, because what will happen is the information is superseded by the belief set. If a guy is nihilistic and despondent and he's a loser and I'm never get a girl. We're never going to score. We're never going to score. That guy uses the red pill a whole lot differently than the guy who goes, you know what? I'm going to make this work. Thank you. I have some, I took the noose off my neck, Rollo. Thank you for saving my life. I'm going to use this and I'm going to go build a better life. That's the dude that I want to talk to, but it's also how is he going to use it? Those, again, same information, different applications. That's all. But isn't one better than the other? Yeah, it most definitely is. God. What do you say? No, not alphas. I mean, when you were talking about them never making the vasectomy technology because they, sorry. My bad. See, you got me.
You sly dog. You got me monologuing.
There you go. You got me monologuing again. My bad. That's on me. No, not alphas. I mean, you were talking about them never making the vasectomy technology because they know what would happen. Yeah, let me explain something else to you. Here's why I think that. There was and I've written about this, the pink pill. You ever heard of the pink pill? It was this medical thing it's almost like Spanish fly, right? It's like this aphrodisiac thing. It's like, how do we get women who aren't into having sex with their husbands because they have mismatched libidos, right? Which is bullshit. But like, how do we get those guys? How do we get these ladies to want to get after it with their husbands because they have mismatched libidos? Well, turns out that they found an alternative to, it's like a female version of what you call it, Cialis or what, whatever, the blue pill, right? And it was supposed to make women like more amorous and want to have, put women in the mood. And they found out that the pink pill, they couldn't get women to get it. They couldn't get women to want it. They couldn't get the women it was designed for. That it was like, oh, we're going to solve this problem. Mismatched libidos. That's great. Here, take this pink pill and you'll want to bang your husband. They wouldn't take it. And the reason for that is because women aren't built that way. Women's mating strategy is put at an extreme disadvantage to the point where it's like psychologically damaging for a woman to, as our good little, our cute little bond here says, no woman should ever be forced to have a baby she didn't want to have. Well, what she's saying is no man should ever assume women's sexual selection process. No man should ever have any power to make that woman horny when she doesn't want to be horny. And I get it. Sure. I would not want a pill that would say, okay, Rollo, take this pill and you want to fuck fat girls all the time. You'll want to get after it with these. You'll want to get Tess Holiday if you take this pill. I wouldn't take that pill. I don't think you guys would either. Would you take that pill? It's the Tess Holiday delight pill. I don't think you would take that pill. And I don't blame women for it either. Right. But I think it's more imperative. And I think it's more like there's a evolutionary, like sort of firmware that it's revolting. It triggers the revulsion response in women when it comes to like, oh, well, you got to have to marry this guy. You're going to have a baby with this guy. You're going to have to bang this guy. And I think that, when we talk about like prostitution, I think women can get to a point where they can sort of like put that on hold. If they can have the pill, all the better, right? You want to know why OnlyFans and like there's the attention side of things. There's OnlyFans and there's the sort of digital prostitution, sex work. Sorry, sugaring. Girls in sugaring probably wouldn't choose those guys to have sex with, but the rewards outweigh the revulsion of having sex with that guy. So there still has to be some sort of payoff. So there is some sort of mechanism that goes between like long-term security or like getting the things that I want, right? Oh, trip to Aruba. Here's some new high heels. Check try on haul, right? All this stuff. You get all this good stuff. And all I got to do is just like have sex with a fat guy once. I don't really want to. Well, it's okay. That's okay. I'll do it because I like the attention and it built me up and whatever. It's not about the sex with that guy. She didn't really want to have sex with that guy. She just wants the payoff of that guy. So there is some sort of cost to benefit process that goes along there. But I think by and large, women wouldn't take that pill because it defeats the innate evolutionary revulsion response that women would naturally have with a guy that they wouldn't choose to have sex with. So like you could say, well, what about sugar babies or sugar mom? Well, they're choosing that because they have to make that cost to benefit, kind of choice between the two, and they choose to go have sex with the guy. But if that's removed from them, then that's rape. Then that's like, I didn't consent to have sex with him. I consented to have sex with the guy that I really didn't want to have sex with, but he's going to pay me. He's going to give me lots of good things and toys and makeup and pretty things, right? So there's that transactional payoff that women can come to, but they still chose to have sex with that guy. When you remove that choice from them, that's when women lose their minds. And that's what the pink pill did. It says, ladies, you have mismatched libidos. We're going to use your own psychology against you, because most women will say, you want to know where that came from. That came from female psychologists. Well, it looks like you're in a sexless, you're in a dead bedroom in a sexless marriage because you have mismatched libidos. Tough luck, guys. Okay, great. We're going to use that and say, okay, mismatched libidos, found this little pink pill, take it. And then you'll want to bang me. No, she won't want to take it to want to bang you. That's the whole thing. That's part of the thing, because that's revulsion. You're removing that control. You're saying here, that's why women don't like the roofies thing. They don't want to be, sex drugs, right? They don't want to be, or Spanish. There used to be this thing called Spanish fly. I think it's like, it was supposed to be some sort of thing that you would see in the back of like a Hustler magazine back in the 70s or 80s. Yeah. And it was like, she takes a little bit of this Spanish fly. What the hell is Spanish fly? And it's supposed to be some aphrodisiac, right? Or was it oysters, right? Suck down an oyster and she'll be ready to go. What? The best aphrodisiac is sort of the homeopathic version, right? Get in shape, look good, right? Be one of the guys that she wants you to take the condom off. Be that guy, and you won't have mismatched libidos, I guarantee it. So, but they won't take it because there's an innate revulsion response. And in that revulsion response, I think is more pronounced in women's psychology, because there is that, existential fear, right? If I have sex with this guy if I don't have a choice, and I have to have sex, or he rapes me, or he kills off all the tribesmen who were protecting me, and he takes me back to his tribe and he has sex with me, and I didn't want to do that. Well, there's some things are going to have to happen psychologically or whatever, but that's a revulsion response. I don't want to have sex with him, but I'm being forced to. I don't want to have sex with him, but this little pink pill forces me to. It's the same thing for vasectomy technology, right? So what happens is, you got the pink pill, and it never takes off because women don't want to take it. Man, screw it. I guess we're not going to do anything with it. That's one aspect of it, because it's marketability, but it's also can be used as a date rape drug. You just take it and drop it in your girlfriend's, it doesn't knock her out, but it makes her want to bang you, and you didn't really do anything. It's not, you didn't earn it, right? You didn't do anything different. You just dropped a chemical into her drink, and the pink pill, and she decided she wants to bang you. Right? Well, that was another reason why it never took off. I think that one of the reasons why we have such slow progress with the male form of birth control is exactly this. There's no way to mandate it. There's no way to curtail it. There's no way at present anyways. And the cost, at least as far as I know, this is the best I know, so don't quote me on this, but like, I know that there are like certain procedures that are forms of male birth control where it is, it basically reduces your testosterone. So it's like, great, I can have sex and not have to worry about a kid, but I'm like so low on T that I don't really want to bang you anyways. I don't want to bang anybody. I just want to go back to sleep. I'm not going to take that drug. I don't want to feel bad. It's like taking antidepressants. Sometimes it's good to feel bad. It's where a lot of creativity comes from. I hate to say it, but I feel good too. But yeah, I think that it's not so much the guys at the top. It's not so much even the money and the disruptor, the social disruptor. I think it's just the fact that they wouldn't want to disrupt a gynocentric social order that depends on that if they do any thinking about it. When Vasectomy was a big deal, I saw a lot of tweets from women saying, "Oh, finally, men have to take a pill too. Great, they can take responsibility for for birth control." Yeah, that's what you're saying now, until it gets to the point where it's perfected, and the guys you really want to lock down, and the guys who you would love to trap with a baby, or guys you want to cuckold, like cuckoldry rates would probably drop overnight if you could do something like that. And imagine that, right? Like, think about this. Like, was it, and I'm going to quote the article, as far as 8,000 years ago, one for every 17 men, so one man for every 17 women reproduced. So that means one guy reproduced and 17 women reproduced. I always quote the Genghis Khan thing, right? You know, one in every 200 guys is a direct, like genetic anyways, descendant of Genghis Khan. So what would a reversible vasectomy or some reliable form of male birth control, what would that do? If great-grandfather Genghis Khan had a reversible vasectomy, come on, now we're stretching, had a reversible vasectomy, how would that have changed human history? You know, what would that do? I mean, think about the cascade effect of something like that. Do people actually think that? No, obviously they didn't. I think what's interesting right now is like we have more technology and more data and more access to data right now because of the internet age than we ever did at the time of hormonal birth control. And I don't think anybody really gave much thought to it back then. In 1965, like, hot damn, I can finally get laid and I don't have to worry about a kid. Fuck yeah, here you go. Oh, it's only for women? Okay. We want to be in the workplace. Free sex? Yeah, go ahead. We want to be elders in the church. Okay, free sex. You know, okay, whatever it is. You want to be the first female golfer at Augusta? That's okay. Free sex. Who cares? That's what that basically you're giving away your birthright, gentlemen. Let's see. Is there any more? There is one left, and you are the last player on today's. Oh, red milk Mike. Oh no, you're not. Wait, yes, are you? Yes, not alphas. Is there any more? No, that was it. Okay. Volt 14. Yes. Are you writing a game book? Yes, I am writing a game book. But it's not like, again, it's not like here's 12 steps for game. follow this template for a sure lay. No, that's not going to be what the book's about. I'm already outlining game, like the psychology of game, like why game tactics would work or would not work. And then also I'm updating it for like 2021, because a lot of the stuff, and as you know, and I've talked about this before, as you know, a lot of the techniques and a lot of the practices that used to be standard or based on assumptions of like the early 2000s in the PUA community, all of those techniques and all that stuff that was developed back then, a lot of it, let's just say 70% of it is still okay, but a 30% of it, maybe 40% of it is so outdated, and it's based on premises that were valid back then but are not valid now. I need to update for that. So what book 5 is going to be is, and it's not going to be anywhere near the weight of this book right here, which is 400 pages. I'm just putting it out there because people keep asking me like, Rollo, where's a good book to learn game? Tell me how to learn game. Well, you learn game because game is a practice. As I was saying before, the red pill is the awareness of the theory and game is the practice. And what you choose to do with that is up to you. Now, I can give you suggestions. I'm not going to give you a template, but I'm going to say, here's why this would work and here's why this would not work. Or here's why this will work, but update it for 2021. So is it going to be a definitive guide to game? I don't think so. But it's going to definitely give you something to think about, because there's no real book on game out there right now. Nothing that's of any significance, I think, and nothing that applies it to like the psychology, the evolutionary psychology, sociology, evo-bio, anthropology, all the things that make up the red pill. I don't think that there is a definitive book. Well, if there is, please let me know. I don't think that there's a definitive book on game. And I know that like Troy France, I don't want to not step on anybody's feet, because I know Troy and I know John do a lot of good work, right? And they do it, but their stuff is based in like, get out there and do it. Learn by doing. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to go do infields with you. I never have. I never will be. I'm not a dating coach. I'm not a PUA. All I do, I just fucking work here, man. That's all I do. I just work here. I hold up a mirror and you have to want to look into it. I can't make you want to look into it. So there you have it. Let's see. If you could orchestrate a Cappy and Rollo call-in show where 10 guys actually called in with the worst investment ideas, calling for deplorable ROIs, return on investments, it would be the greatest day of his life, of Cappy's life. I think the greatest day of Cappy's life was the day I said, yeah, I'll be happy to do the cover of the Book of Numbers. And the rest was history. So that is it for today. That is it for me. Thank you guys very much. And I hope this has helped you a little bit, at least in terms of like sort of seeing the forest for the trees. I've been using a term, and I've been picking this up recently, of like what's proximate cause versus ultimate cause. So when I see a girl saying, "Oh, we need to have mandatory vasectomies," right? We need to basically sterilize this portion of men, and really what she's talking about is men that shouldn't be reproducing, right? Men that need to be gelded, not alpha males. We don't want them to take it because they're the guys who are high value men who got their shit together and this and this and there. They meet our fantasy requirements. So therefore they don't have to have it. They can go before the panel and get their sperm back, their sperm card. I wonder what would happen. Like if you did that, and then this is me just like prognosticating here. Like if you did that, like let's just say that we suddenly overnight, we actually did this joke, right? We said, okay, well, men aren't allowed to, they have to get a license, a parenting license. And they're looking at that, of course, in terms of like, well, women wouldn't need it because women are perfect little angels and they would only ever make good decisions in their reproductive choices, right? So we need panels for men. I wonder what that would do to sperm banks. I wonder what that would do to like fertility clinics and artificial insemination and all that other stuff. Well, if that's the case, I mean, I would presume that women need to be responsible enough and have that. Well, it wouldn't matter because they have the state and they have got a gynocentric social order to help them with all that good stuff along the way. But what would that do? Like, well, okay, so if we're going to limit sperm, well, then I guess we better limit it to only the guys who are the elite of the elite. And really, we're kind of doing that now anyways. But because women don't choose a guy when they're looking at like ladies, can we talk? Ladies, can we talk? When you're looking for a guy to reproduce with, they're not looking for the guy who is the smart gamma male. They're not looking for the delta male. They're not looking for certainly not looking for the omega. They're probably not even looking for the beta. They're looking for the best of the best, right? That's hypergamy. I want to mate with the guy who's going to give me sexy sons because that's the concept. Read The Red Queen. You'll understand. I want that. Okay. So what am I going to select for? I want the guy who looks hot. I want the guy who looks like he plays water polo. I want the guy with a swimmer's body. I want the guy who's yoked. Oh, he's smart too. Great. That's a bonus. But really what she's selecting for is very visceral. It's not like, oh, well, I got to find a guy who's got a IQ of 160. Shit, that's a disadvantage, if anything. And I don't mean that mean. I mean that as a fact, right? So that's what they're looking for anyway. So if you go and you say, well, guess what, ladies, we'll take the guesswork out of it for you. All men have vasectomies now, and you don't have to worry about that. And those guys are now in control. So if you're a guy and you were, let's say from birth, when like that other dude was suggesting, it's like, oh, well, when you get a circumcision, you should also give them the snip at the same time. Those little babies, those little baby men, soon to be men, those little baby boys, they should be snipped then. And so therefore it could be reversed later on. Ha, how invasive, how horrible. Ha, does that make you feel bad? Because it's the same. Well, if you did that, then there would be no sperm banks because, well, theoretically, there would be no sperm banks because men couldn't give you a sperm sample. Or if they did, there's no swimmers in it. So you're fucked. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, you're going to have to find some way to make a hierarchy or status or whatever of the guys who are worth reproducing with and the ones who are not. What is going to decide that? Women's hypergamous entitlements and their hubris. That's what's going to do. So there you have it. That's for today. Cure of the High IQ by Curse of the High IQ by Aaron Clary. Cure of the High IQ. That's what we really need. We need the cure for that. You know what the cure for the high IQ is? Vodka. That's the cure right there. So there you have it. All right, gentlemen, thank you for watching today. We are at the 3-hour mark. I hope this has been informative for you. Again, proximate and ultimate, like what is going on right now on YouTube and what's funny and what's a joke and what's the narrative is indicative of what the ultimate cause is or the latent purpose of it is. So watch for this. I just leave you with this. Watch for this as we get closer to like the fall of 2021 and when the Supreme Court of the United States takes up the Mississippi abortion law And you'll see this kind of rhetoric, this kind of, and you will see beta male men, you will see male feminist allies pick up the torch for women as well at the same time. Okay. You will see this rhetoric increase and intensify as we get closer to it, because now that we have Kamala Harris in office, now that we have Biden in office, now that we have more women in the administration and in the legislature, and you've got all these women who are very, very concerned about this. They're going to make this a big battle, because they think that the constituency of the judiciary is lopsided. Like, oh, they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. No, they're not going to do that, but they're going to make a lot of money on the fear that that's going to happen. You're going to see women in their cars going freaking out. I can't believe they actually did this. Like, remember when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died? I did a full episode when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. And I showed you those videos of those women in the cars just like losing their shit. Because why? Because they thought that they were going to lose their precious right to abortion. Right? It's a human right. Abortion is a human right. Doesn't sound like a right to me. But again, I'm not making ethical issues out of this. A lot of people will. And here's the last point. A lot of people follow abortion from the position of what their beliefs are. And I don't think you need to do that. When you debate a woman on like whether abortion is moral or legal or whatever, it usually comes from the tradcons. Obviously, it's religious. From women, it's obviously like from the leftist progressive women. It's always usually about it's led with emotions. It's never led with the statistics that I presented in this podcast today. You never see statistics. You never see anything rational or reasonable. We don't look at the data sets. We only speak from emotion when it comes to abortion. Right? Abortion is murder. Yeah. Abortion is a human right, right? That's the opposite side. Well, that's a belief. That's a belief set. And for the tradcons, it's also a belief set as well. Although tradcon, even Tommy Lahren is pro-choice. So I don't know how far that flies even on the tradcon side of things right now. But, the sisterhood uber alles crosses all political and ideological, sectors. So let's just call a spade there. But so when we talk about abortion, it's always started from an emotional point, from emotional center. It's never talked about in rational, reasonable terms. You're damn right that men have a say at that table. It doesn't matter if they have a penis and they have a functioning sperm count or a healthy testosterone count. You're damn right they do. They do have a right to say something, because it's their money that's going there to support those kids that are raised by single mothers. It's their money and their resources and their investment in the society that is requiring those resources, because men have been told that they don't have any say at the table. I already pointed out the stats for single mothers today. I already pointed out the stats for children born out of wedlock. And all we're going to do is complain about, oh, well, where are the fathers? Well, the fathers have been removed from the conversation because they don't have a place at the table, because they don't have a fucking uterus. That's why. Where are the fathers? Oh, this guy's a criminal. I can't believe that. Yeah. Oh, it's because men have abandoned the family. No, it's because they don't have a table or a seat at the table. That's why. They don't get to say, right? Because they don't have my body, my choice. It's because women's right to procreate supersedes men's right not to procreate. And men, again, responsibility without authority. They don't have the authority. You don't have the authority to sit at this table and talk about my uterus. Great. But I do have the responsibility for the kids that you create as a result of this, that are going to be higher in suicide, higher in depression, higher in criminality, higher in all of these other statistics as a result of me not having that authority to sit at the fucking table and talk about your goddamn uterus. That's why. So there you have it. That's the end of my story. Guys, I will see you on Wednesday. I have a pre-recorded thing coming up. I think you're going to like it. Other than that, I'm going to go back to work. So see you guys next week. Bye-bye.